Okay, I'm not even going to go ahead and lie to you guys. I just went ahead and took a break. Oh man, when's the last time we talked? I think early November? Something like that? Maybe even late October. I don't know. But I just went ahead and took a vacation for the holidays, guys. Through Thanksgiving, through Christmas, through New Year's, and now here we are. Late January. I believe the last episode we actually recorded was right before Thanksgiving. Man. Anyway, I got my vacation time in, so I am back here with, you guessed it, the Exchanges podcast in conjunction with the Current Issues discussion group on Meetup, based out of Atlanta. This podcast is dedicated to going ahead and bringing people together from all walks of life and having conversations about the most important events, or sometimes not the most important events, of our time. And this recording happened back in November 7th. And I, Angie, David, Savannah, Lawrence, Kwaku, Helene, and Matt got together and had a conversation about pretty much mostly everything to do with media, social media, and its effect on our culture. I mean, the topic was supposed to be kind of Russia investigation, Saudi Arabian political purge, and the Texas shootings, the update on that. But we just went ahead and just kept rolling with some good dialogue here, especially when it came to just social media and how it's affecting our lives. Some really, really good content there. So, yeah, we went ahead and skipped the Russia thing and went into several other topics. We did cover the Saudi Arabian purges and the political transformation there, and talked about how those guys over there have tigers at their homes and how much money is in Saudi Arabia and these Middle Eastern countries. It just like rains gold or something. Let's see, what else? We talked about Spain and Catalonia and the secession politics that is going on over there. We talked about entitlement culture also. And what else did we get into, man? I had a little bit of beef with NPR I wanted to go ahead and talk about. And we did get into how globalization and trade is affecting the U.S. labor force. You know, first world problems. We also got into some conspiracy theories and the conspiracy theories and how they float around on social media. And we did talk about the good old days of reality TV and how things morphed into just YouTube, where we are the reality TV. And we talked about several other items here, but mostly we got pretty deep into a conversation of social media. So, I know I'm pretty lengthy on these intros. I'm just going to go ahead and cut it here. I'm just going to go ahead and bring in the music. And you guys sit back and relax and enjoy this conversation. Oh, and go ahead and follow us on your favorite social media sites. You can follow us on Google Play, iTunes, Stitcher. You can go to our website, theexchangespodcast.com, to find us. And we are compatible with iOS and any Android device. So go ahead and download this podcast if you're listening to it for the first time and support us. Oh, also, we're on YouTube too. Anyway, like I said, go ahead and roll that footage. I will talk to you guys on the flip end. Bye.
I really don't. And if we can just everybody get together and really know what the other person's doing and understand them, then everything would be much better.
Check, 1, 2, 1, 2, check.
The only thing I will say, and it's good money, I like the atmosphere, it's cool.
Let's do it live!
And it's a startup that, it started here 7 years ago. And the owner was on the cover of Forbes like 2 months ago. Like, it's gone really big. They call it Unicorn. So it's cool to be part of that, but I feel like as long as I have a sales job, I'm always going to look back on my life and be like, I should have done something else. It's just, I feel like, to me, sales is just not.
Is that what you like to do?
It's okay. I don't mind it for money. It's good money.
You're good at it.
Yeah, and you're good at it, but it's not something that really, like, fulfills me. It's just kind of just a job, you know, so.
Yeah, I feel you on that, man. Trying to find something that will at least sustain you for a decade or so, or something like that.
Yeah.
So, So yeah, that would have been a headache, man, if you had to go ahead and move.
Yeah.
You know, all right, now you got to settle in Texas, and then you're like, okay, how long am I going to be here?
Well, I'm gonna have gone before everyone shows up.
I know, right? Yeah.
I'm leaving about 7:40. So.
Oh, I feel you. Well, we got a little bit of you on the airtime here.
Can I work here?
Actually, we have a private party that we're kind of doing here.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. But
No,
no, it's all right.
Funny.
I just saw the food table and got excited.
No, it's okay. Thank you. Hey, man, might as well go ahead and just put it out there.
Sure,
Beat
I like
around the
it.
bush.
What kind of sports are big in?
Sports.
Yeah, in Taiwan.
They're big on they're not basketball, but more like NBA.
Okay.
Locally, more like baseball.
Okay. Cool. I always wondered that.
When you gonna go back to London, man?
Probably next year.
Yep.
Yeah. I was supposed to go this year, but it just fell through. That kind of sucks. Yeah.
All the plane tickets and stuff, and
Yeah,
it's
that.
not cheap.
And I switched jobs. That's what it really was.
Yeah.
And it just
You're here
messed-
2003 for school, or
No, I just moved here with my parents. My dad's job, originally.
Okay.
He was an engineer at the.
Oh,
he's
okay.
not anymore, but at the time. And then I went here. I moved here right before college, and then I went to college. And, yeah, it was cool.
That's cool, bro.
Yeah, I actually didn't like it when I first moved here at all. At
What do you
all.
like about it?
You missed the gloomy weather.
Yeah, I did. I know
Really?
that's weird, dude.
You missed the what?
Gloomy weather. He studied abroad in London, so
okay.
I'm sure he knows all about gloomy weather.
Yeah. It's a running joke.
Yeah, it's cloudy
Yeah,
all
heard
the
that,
time.
kind of like Seattle. you know.
Yeah, very cloudy.
Just
just
cloudy,
all fucking
rainy.
day. But I just thought it was kind of too small. It was quiet. Everything was spread out.
Yeah,
I just had a
that's-
hard time like adjusting.
I like the London. I mean, you can just walk.
Yeah, you can
around
walk anywhere,
in the
right? Or take a
town, yeah.
bus. Or, yeah, exactly. There was just stuff like that I really didn't like. But that
Yeah,
was cool.
that's always
Yeah,
the thing,
it's
going
a
ahead
good
and
way.
trying to adjust, especially from like a big metropolitan to something like southern suburbia, like particularly like southern suburban life, But well, when you moved to Georgia, where did you move to? Where did your parents?
I'm sorry. Swanee?
Oh, okay.
Oh,
See,
really
that's the same thing.
far.
Same thing for me. My folks, we because I grew up in New Jersey, and up there, man, it's completely different. Completely different. And we moved down here in 2003.
No,
So,
me too.
and,
That's where I moved to. Funny.
And so, what high school did you go to?
North Gwinnett.
Man, we went to the same high school.
You went to North Gwinnett in
Yeah,
2003?
we were in the same building.
That's so funny.
Somehow I miss you.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
around
funny.
the same time period. Exactly.
When did you graduate?
I graduated 07. I'm sorry. What I'm talking about? I'm way off. I graduated college in 07.
I was going to say, you're like the same age as me, I think. Too.
No. I graduated in 03.
I graduated in 03.
Are you serious?
I'm serious,
man?
dude.
You remember that guy?
Yeah.
The administrator dude
Big,
who was like super
tall white
giant.
guy.
Everybody hated him and stuff like that.
I remember him.
Oh, man, that's nuts. That is insane.
Man, that's really weird. I didn't like high school. I literally went out of my way to not be noticed by anyone.
Same thing, man. I wasn't really feeling it because I came from a really urban environment up in, like, we're talking about East Orange, Maplewood, New Jersey. We're talking about, it's just different up there. It's like, one big thing is that there just isn't subdivisions in, like, a lot of northern states, There's not, like, pockets of houses where people live, and then they leave their pocket, and they go to...
I have uncle in Fort Lee.
Yeah? Oh, okay.
Bunch of cousins in New York.
So you're Taiwanese?
Yeah.
So,
So I was born in Atlanta.
You was born in Atlanta?
Yeah.
Fine. I'm trying to remember that. There's I remember there was a strong Vietnamese population up where I lived at in New Jersey.
And also Korean, especially around Fort Lee.
Yeah.
I don't know around your area.
But yeah, I was near Patterson. We're talking about like 30, 45 minutes south of the Lincoln Tunnel leading up to like New York. South of like Newark and stuff like that. But it was where I lived, it was very diverse. There was a lot of Italian families, a lot of like Jewish families, a lot of Hispanics. It was a big melting pot. Nobody just identified as themselves of like just white and black. It wasn't like, two colors in the crayon box type of deal. It was like, people seem to appreciate their roots where they were from. Like I'm Italian, I'm German, I'm Irish, stuff like that. gang activity was pretty big.
Yeah.
But I mean, gang activity is still huge up there. You don't see, obviously in Swanee, Georgia, you're gonna find out what type of hard gang you're gonna find in Swanee,
Literally
Georgia.
nothing happens in Swanee. It's
Nothing,
so
man.
like, I remember my dad told me there was a break-in like a year ago, and I just couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
In their subdivision.
Hi.
What's up, guys? Long time no see.
Hi. I know we've missed you.
How y'all
We've
been?
been remiss. Yeah. I'll sit here.
Okay.
How's everybody?
Good
Hey,
job.
what's up?
How are you?
This is our server tonight.
Hi.
Hello. Can I start you guys with something to drink?
Now I'm here. We waiting on anybody else?
I know that David and Angie showed up, signed up, so they were here last time. They're usually pretty good about, I guess, meeting their commitments, you know. So, and if they don't, maybe something happened. But we got you guys back. What have you been doing?
You wanna
Oh,
text
school for her.
Angie
Mostly
or
school
David?
stuff.
Yeah.
Meetings,
Yeah, I'll text her,
conferences.
Is that time of year, like in the
It's
public
always that
education,
time.
well, the education industry is? Yeah.
It's pretty much between August and May.
Is that like enrollment time or something?
No, it's school. The school year, August and May.
Oh, August to May. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
Gotcha. All right. Yeah, I'm so far removed from like school environments and stuff. Actually, Savannah, could you sit over there?
I'm leaving in like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Why?
My sister's moving to Dallas tomorrow, so we're going out to eat.
Well, we were talking about the differences between because we went to the same high school, man, and we didn't even know it.
Oh, come on.
Up in Swanee, North Gwinnett.
Same time.
Yeah, same time period. We graduated in the same time. Didn't
And
even
you
know
just
it.
discovered it tonight?
Yeah, man, that's nuts. That's nuts.
That is really wild.
Yeah, we moved here at the
We
same
moved here
time.
at the same time, yeah.
We were talking about how
Yeah.
awful suburban life is.
How long have you known each other?
Well, a few months,
Just like a
this
couple
year.
of months?
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
year?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Different class?
Yeah, I guess I don't know, man. We
I
could have been. We
graduated in
could have been.
2003.
Yeah,
And you?
2003.
I don't know anyone from outside of my class, but you're in the same class.
Yeah.
They just don't have the same.
Did you go to North
course-
Gwinnett? No, you went
No.
to. Okay, all right.
I just wasn't very cool, so anyone outside of my year, I didn't know.
You didn't know?
Being in high school and thinking the worst thing that could possibly happen was my parents deciding to move.
Yeah,
Right.
it was rough.
Well, yeah. I mean, to be honest, though, in like hindsight, I wasn't like. It's not like I was doing too great in school up in New Jersey anyway. I mean, I was
wasn't
getting in
either.
trouble
It
and
wasn't
stuff.
about that.
It was
Yeah.
about your friend.
Yeah. I skipped class a lot and stuff too up there. It was easy.
Well, how do you feel about... Excuse me. I just want to hear this before you go in 15 minutes. How do you feel about your sister moving to Dallas?
Great.
Oh, great?
Yeah.
Okay. You're
Well,
not
you
going to
don't
miss
like
her a lot?
Partially.
This is no good answer.
He likes her a little.
Yeah, a little bit. No, she just wanted to up and move. She likes doing makeup and stuff like that. I guess there's like an art to it. Yeah, I was just saying, I can do that. Like
there's
with a
an
paintbrush
art.
or something.
There's
Yeah.
totally an art, I would imagine.
I imagine. So she's moving there and I don't know, I guess there's a makeup thing down there. Yeah, so
Makeup
she's going to
artist.
try and make it, which is good. I'm glad for her. That's a good thing. She should do that.
Okay.
I should do something like that and just quit my job and do something I really want to do.
Really?
I don't have the
That's a topic.
right now.
When
Let's
you
all
know,
quit our jobs
you'll
and do
know.
what we
Yeah,
really
go.
want to
When
do.
it's time, then you'll.
Just go here.
You're
Just
right.
live life.
It's like, screw it.
That's always the goal, right? That's what I was, That's
Yeah.
always the what
Have
is
you-
it? The story. The,
Yeah.
The
what you
ideal
love.
everybody dreams about. Like just screw it. Just quit it one day. They quit their job and then something strange happens in their life and they go on some weird adventure and end up okay at the end of it.
Sounds like a book. A
Yeah,
movie.
that's how it always is. Like when you like that's the is that a trope? I guess that's a stereotype.
Well, we felt like we put pressure on maybe not on Savannah, but on her brother Nathan. Like, find what you love, do what you love. And so he doesn't know what he loves. So I feel like he feels a lot of pressure to find it. And he's afraid to commit to anything.
I think if people say about our generation already, they say
Yeah.
that we've been told so many times to do what you love that we're like, oh my gosh, I'm not loving everything about my life. I guess I'm not doing it right now.
Yeah.
You know,
that's
you're
true.
your third year in college. You're like, I don't know what I'm super passionate about.
Yeah.
And then you're like,
What's
panicking.
wrong with me?
In my day, it wasn't that.
You didn't even think about
you
it.
got
It
a
was
job
less
that you
pressure.
could support your family
In a way.
And you were happy with it.
Yeah.
Even though it was horrible.
Yeah, it provided.
Right. Right.
Sure.
And you marry someone who you're happy with. You don't have to find like
Yeah, the
your absolute
perfect one.
soulmate that you just know and you have zero
Yeah,
doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's.
So do you guys
That's
all
pretty
feel
real.
that way? Like the absolute soulmate? And
No.
You
I
don't
don't
feel
think there's such a thing.
No,
That's
there's
just
not.
my
We have heard
opinion. I
Well,
don't
I mean, the
I don't know
statistical
about I
odds
don't
that
know
there
about
probably is
soulmate,
somebody
but
out
yeah.
there that you're, maybe extremely compatible with the odds of you meeting them, right? I mean, we're talking about 1 billion people.
Well, there's probably a lot of
Billions
people you
people.
get along with.
Right, I think
Yeah.
there'd be a lot.
It's just,
Yeah.
it's just finding someone you want to commit to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true.
Whether it's soulmate or not, if you felt that someone you want to commit, you
Yeah.
just give it all.
Well, I've had many interesting conversations, but very recently, an interesting conversation with a friend of mine and she's from India, and she was in an arranged marriage.
That's pretty common.
It's pretty common. And, back before I was friends with these people who had lifestyles like this, I thought, oh, that's crazy. Oh, you poor people. But you know what? It makes a lot of sense in a lot of ways. In an arranged marriage, you go into it knowing, I'm going to make this work.
Sure.
Well,
Because
depends on
I'm not
the
marrying this person because I love them. I'm marrying them because I'm making a marriage.
It's
And-
bigger than the both of you.
Yeah.
You have to make it
So
work.
in a lot of ways,
Yeah.
I'm starting to feel like it actually makes more sense
In
than
some ways.
like what you're
In
saying.
hers,
Mel.
it was very nice. They were adults. They both wanted an arranged marriage. Their parents were like, these people seem nice. They met.
They
like,
vet each other.
Yeah, it wasn't like, okay, you're 12, but you're gonna get married to this person who you
Right.
have no choice. Like,
Right.
this is-
They used to
Yikes.
do
that's
that.
the worst
Yeah,
case
yeah.
scenario, kind
Sure.
of.
My friend's grandma was married off at 13 and like started having like 9 kids at like 15, and it's like wow.
Wow.
She had
9 kids at 15?
9 kids. And
Nice.
No, she started having
Having
her
kids
children
at
at
15.
15. Like
Still,
wow.
15 is too young.
Yeah, isn't that? Well, I'm talking about back in the day
Yeah,
too,
still.
But
Still.
Yeah.
Well, I guess people. I don't know.
I mean,
Yeah.
How y'all doing? Hey.
hey, have you been seeing Kyle in our accents?
I have not
I
seen Kyle.
really enjoy him. I
Yeah,
really
he's
do.
an interesting fellow. I have not seen him,
Aw.
but
Oh, we didn't scare him away at the last one.
no.
That one got a little bit.
It did, yeah.
It did? I don't
Yeah.
think he's easily scared away. I mean,
don't
he
think
was
he
pretty
seemed like
into
that type
it.
of guy.
He was
Kyle,
the one.
he sat
He sat there
there.
last time.
He was like
Shaved
the other
head.
one. I don't know if you were there. He had like this. He has like this crazy life story like from Arizona. Like,
Right,
Yeah, we had that on. We
Yeah.
were talking about the family, like modern families.
right.
But I haven't seen him since, But things change with people. Who knows? I mean, I know that he was in between jobs and stuff, and he was looking, so maybe he found a job or something. You know how that is. You get a job, and you have to go ahead and get
Work.
used to it.
Impress
And
yourself.
yeah, exactly. You gotta impress your boss. You gotta go ahead and you got to demonstrate. Well, depending on the type of job you have, you got to demonstrate that you can be a cog in the wheel.
Congratulations.
You're a team player.
they're sitting in background chairs.
You got a job?
You
New
got
job?
Yeah.
Awesome.
So happy.
Cool, man.
Alfredo?
Yeah.
So you guys know each other?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, cool.
I guess we missed a few.
Yeah, we missed a couple.
Yeah, we all got to know each other and stuff.
Yeah.
There's
Get
lots
to
of-
keep you as a friend.
Okay,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I went down to my vote over in Duluth, the Duluth Green or City
yeah.
Town Square.
I was
Oh, so she
there
voted.
at
Yeah.
like 5:30.
Huh?
I was there at like 5:30.
Oh yeah, man, and there was a lot of people.
Yeah.
Not by
Right.
me, man. I was in and out in 5
Was
minutes.
there a lot of people in your polling place?
We went late, and so there were 7 left, and then the polls closed, so we had to do like a fill out type ballot.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Yeah. The 7 it won't take.
Hope they don't like put it in the trash or something.
I know.
Conspiracy, Yeah, fill out this piece of paper. We'll make sure. It's there.
Yeah. We'll
Ours
take
isn't
it.
nearly as exciting as the mayor vote for Atlanta.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then they have, like we were talking about earlier, the Virginia. They're voting on their governor, right?
Tonight, yeah.
In Jersey.
And New Jersey,
Jersey,
their new governor isn't New York De Blasio. President,
Is he?
No, I
No,
don't think he's
that's-
up.
No?
No.
I swore I heard something about him.
No, I don't think so.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe he was just associated with some other election. Yeah, I was listening to the Silver podcast, like
5:38.
538. I was listening to that one, and they were talking about him having a pretty easy time getting elected this go around, and he doesn't have any real like strong competition. It'll be like the first time since like the early '80s that a Democrat mayor would be reelected for like the second term in a row there. 'Cause
Maybe
it's all
that's
been
why they haven't
Republicans
mentioned it.
Pretty much running
Yeah.
NYC. So
Give me that.
I think that he may be up for election, but somebody can go ahead and fact check that in a moment.
Sure.
There we go. Wonders of technology. In the past, it would just be like, everybody would just agree that I was right. Everybody just walk away. Hey, sounds about right.
Well, some people still think that you can just say whatever you want and people won't be able
Right.
to
Yeah, some people do, huh? Imagine that.
So what is our topic tonight? There were so many.
There's so many.
Yeah, I just put a list.
It
down
doesn't really ever matter,
because
does
a lot
it?
of stuff happens. I don't know. We have a few interesting ones here. We're going to talk about media and culture, and then of course, there's some things popping in the Russian investigation, right? And I thought what's happening in Saudi Arabia is pretty interesting. There's a new crown prince, Mohammed Salman. I think that's his name. He's 32. He's my age. Think about that.
Just 2 years old, 1 year older.
I mean, he's running
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Cracking down. Consolidating power seems like
He's more than consolidated.
And he's more
Oh,
a
you
little
didn't have
bit
fun?
moderate than the other. Right?
Well, that's what they
That's what they
says,
said,
and that
right?
might be to gain favor with the Western world.
Yeah.
They don't really know. Everybody might be stepping on their own feet by jumping in with him because he says he's moderate.
Well, maybe he's slightly moderate. So they're thinking that's very moderate, or for us, it's like maybe a teeny step.
So he's pretty moderate. He was the one who pushed for like women being able to drive
I
cars
know, but that's
and all
not-
that.
that's
he's
it.
very popular.
But for them,
That's
Hold
it.
on.
But that's
Well, let's hear what he's saying.
He's
Because
very
I don't know
popular
about
with the
this.
younger crowd. The big problem is he's also running what he calls the anti-corruption group, which has thus far put 11 of his competitors in house arrest.
Yeah, that's good.
yeah, at the Ritz-Carlton.
Really? At the
Ritz?
Ritz
At the
Carlton?
Ritz.
As of
in
yesterday
Saudi
evening,
Arabia.
one of the princes that was like kind of up against him for the crown, his helicopter exploded and they're blaming it.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's like the biggest conspiracy theory write-up you could ever imagine.
Yeah.
Oh
That's
my
interesting.
Just get to
God.
like,
Yeah, but the-
somebody
but-
becomes a crown prince and then his competition dies.
Suddenly starts dying and he's blaming
One by
Lebanon
one.
for
Right,
it.
and the other way around too. These people that he's putting away, are billionaires. His chances of making it through this are slim.
It's kind of
I mean,
interesting because it's almost like a Stalin thing where he does have the support of the younger crowd and the kind of angry kind of rising up behind him and stuff like that. And that's where he's kind of consolidating power.
Yeah, but that's not going to stop
These other guys?
these other guys from getting rid of him.
But they're in house arrest right now, and if he does a praxis seizure, then I mean, what chance do they have? Like it could be
A what? A practice seizure?
praxis seizure, a seizure of the city.
Really?
Yes,
I've never heard
They
of
can
that.
still contact their. They have no
What- how do you
contact with
say
the
that?
outside world.
praxis, Praxis.
Oh, praxis. Okay.
Praxis. Okay.
Wow.
What's interesting about this new crown prince here, he arrests all these top prominent Islamic clerics and stuff. It's funny when I hear I play like tabletop games, D&D and stuff, so I hear the word cleric. And I get an image of like this fantasy character and stuff in my head. But it's weird in the sense that that there are nations still out there. They're one of a handful of monarchs that are still out there around today, active and stuff. But anyway, he goes ahead and he arrests all these people, but they don't get locked up in jail. They're chilling at like
The Ritz-Carlton.
Ritz-Carlton.
yeah, the Ritz-Carlton in Riyadh. And so I looked at
and
pictures
it's-
of this
How
place.
is that?
Yeah,
And that's
it's
a freak
crazy.
palace,
Oh yeah,
man.
it's like in Dubai or something.
Yeah.
It's like
It's
So it's a joke.
no.
He's
Well,
still
just-
consolidating.
right.
yeah. You can't go ahead and
You just can't put it.
that's not that's not a good strategy. You don't take all the people that you want to go ahead and maybe restrict their power and throw them into like a real prison per se, right? Especially if they're used to living like Saudi billionaire lifestyles and stuff. That would probably go ahead and enrage them.
And they're princes.
You put them
Some
in a
of
nice
them are
hotel.
princes also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just not in line or whatever.
You softly walk them down the
Yeah.
plank. You go ahead and make sure that they don't notice. But every time I see like pictures of Dubai and Saudi Arabia and just the amount of money,
Oh,
the aristocratic class has there,
Reminds me, made me recall the purge not so long ago with China, Xi Jinping.
Mhm.
The same thing, say, using anti-corruption as a
excuse.
Yeah.
Whether really or not, it's as a pretext to
Get with
power.
yeah.
Get all these elections.
either get rid of opposition or
Yep, exactly.
It's like Erdogan as well in Turkey.
Yeah.
Kind of a similar thing that he did as well.
Yeah, it's like it's open season for if you're in a position of power to go ahead and make some moves. I guess you just.
So we're in the
For
era of
Game
a
of Thrones.
strongman.
Yeah, we're in the era of
There's so
strongman.
many
It's
like
like,
ways.
How come nobody's talking about Spain?
Yeah, that is pretty big too. I
That's
probably
pretty
should put
big,
that on there.
but nobody's talking about it.
I guess that
Much.
people don't feel like it's going to happen.
I see it on the news all the time.
Do you? I don't see it as much as I think we should. I mean, they're about to clamp down
Oh, okay.
and like have a civil war.
Yeah.
I think it's
It's like if Texas said they wanted to be their own country, and we said no, and we're about to like invade them. It's kind of weird to have a first world country going through.
That's been there for a while. Like Catalans,
They've been semi.
they were their own country for a very long time. I don't know up until then, but they kind of have their very own dialect of Spanish. They have like their own names, like a very distinct culture.
Right. So if they vote to
Separate.
go, why not just let them go?
because they are the richest area.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
Right.
It's like
And
not
they're
like-
not wanting
not
to pay
like
for
a
the
Texas
poor is
secede.
the big problem that it is. It's the aristocrats trying to break apart so that they don't have to support the rest of Spain.
I didn't think about it like that.
But that's not. The rest of Spain isn't their problem.
Well-
So because I need your money, I'm going to force you militarily to stay part of my country.
Well, that's what. Yeah,
it's
they
like
want
when
them to.
it's like when Johns Creek wanted to make its own city, so they didn't have to support South Fulton County, and Atlanta. If Atlanta would send military in to keep us from making our own
So
city.
if they did a forcible thing and tried to declare themselves, they're like, we're no longer part of Georgia. You can kiss us whenever. We're just going to be our own little area. We would actually send military. We'd
Yeah,
be like, "You're
it's the
trying
same
to take over
thing.
the city."
Yeah, Spain has invested a lot in Catalonia. They have a lot of their infrastructure there. I mean, they're part of the country, so it's kind of like that. I don't know
it's
if you
also
can just say.
they're the wealthier part.
But what they did
Sure.
was supposedly what they've done was laid out in the Constitution as being allowed.
Oh, they have.
It happened in the United States as well. We used to have the right to secede, and whenever some of our people decided that they wanted to secede, we told them no. So it's not so different. It's the city. It's them wanting to maintain themselves as a country, and one small part saying, "Hey, we have the right to do this," and the big government saying, "No, you don't."
It's in Spain's constitution that they.
It was my understanding that they followed all the rules.
I'm pretty sure that's in like all constitutions, right? It's like if you want to, you can go ahead and.
But you can't have a It's a Hotel California.
It's like whatever, when it comes down to brass tacks, we'll see if you could actually go ahead and.
Sounds like it's like you said, if Texas was going to secede, but it'd be actually more like if California was going to secede, then because California has like so many wealthy areas and so many mansions. Because everyone talks about California seceding.
Right.
But if California was going to secede, like that,
They pay so much in taxes.
yeah,
I don't see that. Yeah, being okay.
Yeah, and the issue is if they're attacked, they still expect the U.S. as a whole country to come in and rescue them in the case of an earthquake or a military situation. So they have to look at the whole picture too. What are they benefit as being part of the bigger picture?
And secession has a lot of complex issues. For example, Spain has a lot of debt. They're not doing very well economically. What percentage of the debt would be taken on by the new Catalonian government? Would they just get to start from ground zero, or would they have to take a certain percentage? But I think
that would really hurt Spain.
Yeah.
They just kind of.
Oh yeah. They'd be screwed.
Yeah, I don't feel like that's gonna happen. I don't feel like they're gonna just
kind of talking about those things for
Catalonia
years
go.
and
Yeah.
years. But
Yeah.
this is like the biggest it's gotten, as what I've seen.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of political revolution in the air. Because things like Brexit, Donald Trump, and all that type of stuff that's going on, and I think that there's a segment of ideological politicians out there who are trying to tap that for maybe their own gain, or maybe just their own personal beliefs, and you're seeing this being pushed, these type of, I guess, extreme positions being pushed forward
Well, from Catalonia's perspective, here you've got a very rich area that's keeping a country that A, has a very corrupt leader, and B, has a 25% unemployment rate on its feet. They no longer want to be a part of this. I mean, it's like a very rich area in a country that's been very, very poorly run. So it's very much in their best interest to get out of there, but Spain would fall under.
That's true. They still rely on the EU markets, so if they leave, if they become their own country, then they have to renegotiate
joining the EU.
Joining the EU again.
That's true.
Yeah, and I mean, there is that, security of having like a military security. I mean, any other country in the area could, if they're like tiny, they could take them over. And Spain, they're probably going to call Spain to say, hey, can you help us out? And is Spain really going to ignore them at that point? They're not going to have a choice, because then if they allow Catalonia to be taken over, then you have this land right in your country that's owned by another country.
But I feel like, this is just like,
now you have to sit there again to balance it.
Political tactics 101. It's like, go ahead and tell the population that these type of people is the reason why your life is so bad, and the only way to resolve it is to break away or isolate yourself in some capacity. And so it's like it's like rinse, wash, repeat. Like you just see that all around the globe all the time. Same thing. It's just like it's either we need to wall ourselves in, or we need to go ahead and do our stuff over here. You can do your stuff over there, and it's just like it's just one of those really easy tactics. And I guess if you're desperate, or I don't know, or maybe you're not educated, it's easy to just believe in that. You're just like, yeah, okay, that sounds legit to me. Yeah, I think we should just break up from Spain.
You can be totally educated and still believe in that, because at its heart, like I said, they are holding up Spain. They do have the majority of the wealth concentrated in there. Like globalization and wide level trade, economists are starting to think it's probably a bad idea for an individual, especially a wealthy group, to really involve themselves in this whole global economy. So it's actually a pretty educated standpoint to take, to say, hey, we should break up.
Well, just maybe in the short term, but I think the long term implications of that, just wouldn't go well.
Right. And even though there's some downfall to globalization, it's still, not only is it inevitable, it is necessary for your economy to thrive. Because they say that here in the U.S., we allow too much global trading, but overall we still benefit from globalization.
Right.
Yeah. That there are experts that have come out and said that.
They'll say that they are there, but to the extreme that we've gone, and that's the reason, looking at the numbers, is the reason that so many people are starting to move in.
So globalization is very interlocked right now, so it's just not as easy saying stop trading. Yeah.
So I haven't heard the disadvantage of that. If we were to really be doing a lot of exporting, I could see the argument, but if you agree that we're importing more than we're exporting, and they have an exceptionally lower wage, and transportation costs that aren't actually that hard, it's a great example.
Just saying their processes is not just in one place. It's spread out. It's like some process in the US, some process in Mexico, some process in other countries.
We bring the parts here, then we assemble them. It's multiple
and
countries.
some process we have to export back out for.
Don't they have crazy stories about chicken? Chicken that's grown there and then it's sent here to be,
I haven't heard
butchered
about chicken.
and all sorts of crazy things.
I was thinking more about planes, where the engine's made in this country, the wings are made over here, the tail, it's all, and then it's all put together in one plane.
Right.
I don't know about chicken.
No, there's some crazy story about chicken. I'm telling you, I'm gonna find it.
If we don't allow those imports, our plants are gonna cook. It would totally harm us. There's no no debate on that.
If we were to allow the imports at a higher tax rate, it would mean that the manufacturing section of the United States
those other countries would not send their products to us. They would find other ways. We would lose the business.
At what point, if we were to, and Canada said, and what starts with a T?
Trudeau.
Trudeau.
Oh, Trudeau.
Trudeau actually said, I mean, they're caught up, so whatever we end up doing, they have to go with. And he was trying to make Trump out to be a bully or whatnot. But at the end of the day, if you increase the tax, they're going to have to continue to send stuff our way. If you increase it to a level where they can ship outside of the Americas, then yes. But otherwise, no. Yes,
Well, that's what globalization is. They can go anywhere. So if we want to play the game, we got to play the game.
Hear that?
Well, I'm just saying that, like,
Do you want the business? Do you want the plants open, or do you not?
Our plants are closing, and we're giving a lot of ways for rich people to exploit, hiding money. We just had the Paradise Papers come out right after the Panama. The more of these holes that you open for money to get out of the country, the more wealth our country is losing, and it's provable.
That's not talking about trade. That's a different issue.
So, as far as trade, we do have less manufacturing in this country, and you can say there's some reason, I don't even know what reason you would give for that, other than globalization, other than say people are hiring inside Mexico.
Yeah, it's more technology too.
It's like
Absolutely.
even you bring manufacturing, even robots.
Right.
They're not gonna hire.
That's what's displacing some of that.
Yeah, what really drives everything is technology.
How advanced do you think robots are right now?
Oh gosh, are we gonna get them? Okay. Back to
We're talking about
technology.
We go down to robots and AI.
I don't think technology. I don't think robots are taking more jobs than
I'm not in the
low-paying countries.
You know, the more and more I think about it, the more and more, I mean, you do see that there's a large segment of working America that is having increasingly harder and harder places to go ahead and, find work that is that can go ahead and sustain them. I mean, there is a drain of blue collar work and jobs, and that is going to these other nations, other masters.
So unemployment is a fascinating number that people like to talk about way too often.
So you're not really.
Unemployment involves people who are looking for jobs, can't find them, and have earned less than $20 in a given week.
All right, so what's wrong with that parameter?
Okay, so if I give up because there are no jobs available,
right,
I am not unemployed.
Correct.
If I go mow my Uncle John's yard and get $30 from him for doing so, I'm not unemployed.
But you're the one that gave up, and you're the one that chose to mow the lawn. I don't understand. So you shouldn't be counted.
So I don't disagree that you need to find whatever money you need to survive. But the unemployment number is vastly understated.
But it's the same standard that we've always used also.
Yeah, so that's
So it's just a guide. If you want to add
but it can be manipulated.
No, not really. It can't be. It's not manipulated.
Well, there's
but there is
variances, right?
variances
There's
to
U9
it.
measurement, and
But
then
you use the
there's,
same one all the time. It's a guide. It's a graph. You know what I'm saying?
So if we take underemployment under consideration, our underemployment rate is vastly up. And that's the problem, is we only hear, we've got 4.5%.
And they say one of those problems now is due to people's unwillingness to move, whereas in the past they were able to relocate more often. Now they're looking for this plant in their city, like in their town, which on the whole scale of economies and globalization, they don't choose, they're looking for what's in the company's best interest, right, to locate their headquarters. They're not going to say, I'm going to keep it in Detroit because of those people there who need those jobs.
I mean, so those, those jobs go ahead and they move to different regions and stuff, but I mean, there's a lot of other intersecting issues too. I mean, it's not like, if you're working in West Virginia and, your take-home pay is going to be vastly, it's going to be different than maybe the cost of living if the plant was moved to California or something like that.
Yeah.
It's going to be like impossible for you to make that move. I mean, it's just not the same.
More like for example, like chicken places in Georgia. People don't want to move out to those what's it called, chicken farms or whatever.
Is it that they don't want to, or is it that they can't? There's a big difference,
It's probably both, but it's not expensive areas, is what I'm saying.
But the problem is, one thing we don't think of, and the reason they talk about the middle class, manufacturing jobs for the uneducated pay really, really well. You get your machine levels and stuff like that. I mean, you're talking about wages that are competitive with those that have graduated from college. Those don't otherwise exist. Like, there are plenty of jobs in the farm world. There's plenty of jobs boxing things for Amazon.
But you have to move. Like Amazon,
and you make a lot less money. I mean,
but haven't people always had to move?
I
always would have thought the opposite, that people would be more fluid now moving.
No.
People are generally more fluid.
I know,
They
are, but not for finding these jobs.
Or maybe because now they expect to find it where they are.
Like, let's take our newly employed Lawrence. Like, he was willing to move, but he really, really, really was concentrated on trying to stay here.
Well, if there was an opportunity to stay here, I would stay here.
Yeah.
It just happened. So
Well, yeah, that's anybody though. That's not. I don't think that's changed throughout history. I mean, if you're a farmer in if you're a worker in 1915 America, if there's a job that's closer to you, then you go into the city, and the rates are comparable. Yeah, you're gonna stay where you're at.
I mean, we moved here for opportunity.
Yeah.
From
1989.
Couldn't afford a house there.
Living was too expensive.
Living expenses here were good. Job opportunities were good. We moved. Left our families.
And a lot of people did.
Right.
I mean, farm jobs are also really terrible jobs. I mean, work long hours, very little money, and I mean, they're having difficulty getting people to farm at this point because of that stuff.
Yeah.
But people used to do anything for money.
That's what I'm saying. They used to, like, my great-grandfather...
Get in the truck and be migrant workers if they had to.
Yeah, my great-grandfather used to hop on trains.
Wow.
Before...
Well, you can't do that today,
He used to hop on trains and
go
go and find work to provide for the family. But so now people...
All those avenues have been cut off. I mean, a lot of...
Have they, or we just don't want to do it anymore?
Well, so there's a social, like, we all have this social upbringing that says, hey, you're entitled to all of this.
Right.
Entitled is...
It is. You need a house, you need a cell phone, and a car.
Yeah, people are buying houses, and they're like, well, I have to stay here, because then I'm going to lose money if I have to sell my house. So then they kind of can't really be flexible.
Well, I think there's also a race to the bottom when it comes to wages, too. It's not... I mean, people are getting paid... proportionately less today for, work kind of expending the same amount of energy.
Really?
Yeah,
I
definitely.
haven't heard about that.
It's, I mean, if...
Well, the old... In my
part
parents,
of it has to do with, inflation, too, and things just cost so much more now.
You're right.
Right, you had a robust middle class, now you don't have
Right.
You don't have... That's why they talk about, like, affordable housing in areas where there's well-to-do people, because the waiters and the workers... that can't afford to live in that town. In the old days, you used to be able to. You had a community there where people could have a decent life living there, but now they can't afford to live there anymore. That percentage of middle class is gone.
Yeah.
It's you're either upper middle or you're down below.
Yeah, the ladder's broken.
Yeah.
It's hard to go ahead and hop into a sustainable, living and environment for yourself to create that. I don't think
where we lived, you had cops and you had guys that delivered bagels and you had car sales. People that all could afford a huge range of non-educated jobs where people could all afford to live in that
American dream. That was the American dream.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I don't think that I don't think that all the problems have to do with, and I'm not saying any of you guys are saying this, but I think there's a mentality out there that there's an entitlement culture that's like self-defeatist, and that's the reason why people can't create sustainable lives for themselves. I don't think that I think that there's a lot of other intersecting factors out there.
But you don't think that's part of it?
I think that that is definitely one factor, but is it like the biggest factor?
No.
I don't think it's.
I don't think
top 10.
I don't think people are thinking they're entitled.
So they do say I graduated from college with my degree in something that's meaningless to graduate college from, and I should be given a job that a college graduate should go. I'm not going to work as a boxer at Amazon. That's a level of entitlement.
I agree.
Right, but that's what they were told their whole life.
Yeah, and you got to
Well,
look.
it's a
I know. I'm not saying
you
it's
got to
right,
look for where that
but
comes
that's
from,
why
right?
they're
Yeah,
thinking that.
where's that mentality
I
come
was
from?
They've
told
been
to go to
told that.
college.
they've been told that.
And they're going to other job interviews that everything requires experience for like an entry level position.
If the social
Keep happening
programming
a lot.
out there is that you do X in order to get Y,
Yeah.
you're going to expect that.
Where's
If
my
you say
Y?
that that's
You went to
like
college.
some like
That's what
So-
I
So,
thought.
so
I don't
being
think so.
told that is still entitlement. Like if you
Oh, I
believe
know.
it-
No, I am agreeing. Yes, I'm just saying, but that's why they feel that way.
Right.
They've been raised that way.
Because you're not a kid, you're saying, I think they're lying to me. You're just,
Yeah.
you take it.
We
for
have a kid that
truth.
where I work. We have these young guys, and they just don't really get it. And we had this one guy that we kind of like. We're trying to groom him, and the other day he was sitting in the manager's
Did
office,
you say
and he
groom
said,
or ruin?
Groom.
Oh.
No, not
and he
ruin.
said, and he said, he
We're
actually
ruining
said,
it.
he says,
Plotting?
I'm not feeling motivated here. And I wish I was in the room when he said that. I would say, then just go somewhere else.
Right.
Because he's kind of looking
He
at
thinks
us.
it's your job,
Job
to
to
motivate
motivate
you.
him. Yes, he
I
really
understand
does.
that.
I was like, Flood, but that's such a common attitude.
I also like.
What is he thinking, though?
He thinks we need to give him a position because he's done a couple of different things there already, and we need to give him something that motivates him so that he can do better.
He's like, I need
who
more
is it?
than this. Give me more.
It's just
One
the
of your high
tables are
school
turned,
friends
Yeah.
felt like she got where she got all by herself. And, we had this conversation about how she doesn't acknowledge that all the things that her parents did to get her.
Like entitlement.
Yeah, entitlement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People
I mean-
don't always realize when they.
Yeah.
We're all, I mean, it becomes almost meaningless to say entitled because we're all entitled in some fashion or another.
Absolutely.
I mean, we all feel like, I don't think there's any previous generation out there that didn't have some type of sense of entitlement on some level.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
good to
think,
have dreams.
yeah, I don't think that
We
this
just
is.
now get more, we feel more and more entitled to more and more things.
Yeah, I think that varying perspectives of generations. I think that there's always been this kind of tug of war of like, you have an older generation that looks back on the younger generation like, it's I had to go through worse than what you had to go through, and then you're more entitled. I think it's kind of a mentality than I guess a really big problem or real thing.
Right.
Yeah,
I don't see that as, I just don't see it as like this massive barrier to.
I think the bigger problem is how can we fix the middle class,
Yes.
create a middle
Yeah.
class, things, those are the
Generations
real
will always
issues.
And how do you do that?
Right.
Well, so I think, like, in our first topic was social media, and what's fascinating about the media's take on this is we're detaching on these extremes, and this is where I think entitlement is getting out of hand. Maybe it's because I have a lot of very, very, very liberal friends, but I get a social media outpour every day of, we need to have all this medical stuff paid for. We need to have all our educations paid for.
They're so radical.
It's very radical.
I know sarcasm. Go ahead.
So we've got all of this stuff, and they show the polarization. So you've got that group on one side, and on the other side, which is unrepresented by my Facebook, but apparently is getting pushed. You have people who are going, we need to just shut down all globalization and all immigrants are terrorists and all this terrible stuff that's going on. And it's just gotten out of hand. And I think social media really is starting to destroy this country.
Really splitting it.
Social media
It is.
in particularly,
I could see that.
Very specifically social media. I think that in the last 16 years, we've gone from a very middle-centric group where, Republicans and Democrats had some level of disagreements, but it wasn't like, I am this way and therefore I have to agree with everything on this issue. I have to go this way,
Absolutely.
I agree everything.
Yeah.
They've both gone to like a really nutty
Well, and
level.
liberal and
Oh, yeah.
conservative.
Social media is like that, even like
Right, but I
Fox
think,
News and
but he's saying it's because social media, it's
It's because
polarizing.
the Facebook's
It's causing
really
us to
spreading
be
it.
split.
Well, was it really media, or
Sure.
was it Russia paying the media?
I think
To
social
make
media
us
just
that
They
way.
contributed to it, that's for
I
sure.
think it's interesting though because we used to have a lot less global communication and even communication among like people where you lived. Because people are a lot more connected about people you work with. You see what their politics on Facebook, where you might not have ever talked about that by the water cooler in the old days. But so in the old days, you would just believe whatever your family believed, and maybe whatever your little village or small town believed. So that's also very isolating. And then we like expanded, like, wow, now we know everybody. We have all this information, and then people started to like fall into their own bubbles again. But now it's almost somehow worse because you're have a much bigger bubble. It's like you're much more validated because you're like, all these people agree with me.
Right,
from
right.
all
All
over.
this is going on,
Half the
but
people in the
these are
country
mine.
believe it.
And you're constantly, you're not just reading like your daily city paper
Right.
or state paper. You're now reading all of these things, bombarded with things that back up your opinion. And you're not seeing the other
goes
thing.
one way or the other
Right.
to an extreme because you're like, oh, this is going, and you slowly.
And you
move
don't
a little
have to
bit
hear
more.
the other bubble.
Oh,
Right.
and I closed the other bubbles away.
Right.
I'm
Where,
not listening to
like
you.
what she was saying, in the old days, your little community, you would listen to that guy at the water cooler who had the other side. Because there were some people there that you talked to.
Now you
But
just
now
might
you
have
don't
that
have to
crazy
talk
You
to them.
unfriend them
As soon
now.
as he starts talking, you unfriend
Well, you're
him.
not supposed to.
Yeah.
Well,
Keep those people in there.
Or you hide
I
them,
have
which
a
is
couple
what I
of
do.
friends that don't
Follow
really
them.
know them, but they have some pretty extreme stuff, and every time I see it, I'm like, but I just like, nope, I want to see that. People are talking about that.
Good for
And
you.
I've gone the opposite route. I try to bring people back to the middle, and I've been befriended on both sides.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've
Yeah.
Lost people in
I
the.
think it's also like you say,
That's
the
same thing
internet
happens.
because you don't have that in person.
Yeah.
You don't have that in person.
Yeah.
You're just a random voice
It's easy
yelling
to
at the
write
internet
them off.
that
Right,
they
I'm
like.
gonna
when
listen
it's
to
on
you.
the internet. But if we're talking,
I'm going to listen to
you're
you.
more likely.
Yeah,
Right.
you might
Don't see the
understand
person.
more.
Yeah,
of where
give them
you're
an
coming
opportunity.
from.
Be polite.
Yeah.
Right.
I think social media also creates false reality too. I mean,
yeah.
you go ahead and you log on to whatever Facebook,
You're
Instagram,
protected.
and you go ahead and all you get is just snapshots of people at their extremes, or
Yeah.
Oh, right. They're not going to post
Yeah.
moderate
Exactly.
stuff. They're just going to post when they're
gonna
upset
post, you know,
or
when,
excited.
when they're upset, when they're outraged,
Or they're
And then you
excited.
have, exactly. You
Yeah.
have these media organizations
Yeah.
that they're looking for clicks, ad revenue.
Yeah.
So they're trying to post, they're trying to put out articles and headlines out there that's going to make
That
you
get
get
clicks.
emotionally involved.
Yeah.
So you're constantly in this environment where you're just people are just pulling at these polar opposites, and you're not getting an accurate representation of that one person. You're only seeing them in that instance at that moment, and it's easy to fall into that trap of just saying like, wow, this is the way the world is. It's a bunch of people who are Nazis, and then there's a whole bunch of people who are communists out there, and that's this world, and it's awful. And it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking like, well, I gotta fight back against this other side that's taking over, because your worldview is distorted by constantly viewing this stuff.
Well, it's worse than that. It's Facebook actually has captured more information than any of us would care to admit about us. And they know exactly who we are. So we're given news that's specifically slated to us. So our opinion's not going to change, and it's going to continue to go in that direction. Facebook is now officially the #1 news source in the world.
And they have so much information.
And it's not even news.
Right.
It's not even a news platform, right?
They're getting it. I think what they mean, the articles. So it can be Times, the New York Times, but it feeds through your Facebook.
Right.
So that's their source.
If
Correct.
my mind already
It's
goes
a
towards
distribution channel.
The New York Times.
And it's
Yeah.
also the
Right.
friends you click on more, they show you more of their
Their
Right.
stuff too.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like not even like
It's picking what articles
their
to see.
algorithm.
Instead of
What's
you
the
just going to
solution?
the Times and reading it, or the
Right.
Post
Well,
and reading it, they're picking the articles.
a
to
lot of
see.
people say that these social media giants, and even Google, that's not exactly social media, but that because they have like this huge responsibility, they have to take better handle of it.
Yeah.
They're telling them you have to do something about this to make it more somehow
What's the word?
fair, equal,
Yeah,
like
unfair.
equal
needs to be
exposure.
more-
Like
Unbubble it.
it's not even sure how to do it, but it's like you have to do something because
Yeah,
you just
like with
could have
Russia,
used
they
this whole
said we
election.
didn't even know who was advertising.
Yeah.
So like that was the problem. So we want to protect First Amendment,
And then,
Right.
Yeah.
but they said we should at least know who paid for that advertising because we had no idea
Where
Russia
it came
was.
from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the whole
which I thought was a valid point.
Yeah, I mean, Russia is a tiny, very valid portion of it. But I mean, we're still being fed the exact news that we want to hear that puts us in our bubble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even if it's truthful, I mean, they're just gonna filter what they think I want to hear.
And because I read some article once, it was saying how the economy has always shifted to different kind of values, I guess, and right now we're in an attention economy. And it's all about the attention and the clicks and the looks and the likes and the views and all that thing.
Are you saying attention?
Yeah.
So
Attention
whoever
economy.
gets more.
How can I keep you on Facebook?
Get your eyes on something.
I was
Just
reading
gotta
something.
get your
It was
eyes.
saying,
Yeah.
like, not like any news source has officially said that, but people who work for news sources have kind of like unofficially said things like that they felt bad or like responsible or guilty for how they covered like Trump in the election because
Right,
they
because-
covered all the ridiculous aspects of
Because
him
they
and oh my
had
gosh,
to,
look at
but-
this, because they wanted to get more attention where they
Yeah.
didn't cover Hillary's policies because that wasn't exciting enough. That wasn't going to get you
Exactly.
clicked on.
Yeah.
They didn't
So
cover
the way it presented
they
it.
didn't. It was like a reality
Because
show, and
it's,
so but he's one of this
Because
guy.
it's
He said
corporate
he didn't
owned.
think who was going to win, so they covered it to get like all these attention.
Oh my god.
And that they were regretting it like
Yeah,
after the
because
fact.
it's corporate owned, so and even those people who work for CNN, they're like getting pressure, like, okay, that makes bigger views, so keep that going.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever advertised on Facebook or on a platform?
No.
So for this little podcast
Should.
thing, for the first time ever, I went ahead and I was like, I just want to see how it works. And Facebook gives you like, if you open up a page, they give you like a $30 coupon to advertise.
Oh.
And so I went ahead and I opened up, and Facebook has this whole other analytics platform that allows you to adjust the age group, the gender, the location, and I don't mean location by like region. I mean by
Eye color?
like city, by like small
Yeah, really,
municipalities for where you can target your advertising.
Wow.
It is ridiculous how detailed you can go ahead and target your ads.
People who have searched for preschools.
Right.
Yeah.
Probably.
And then Facebook keeps track of every single click. And you can drill back to find exactly where that click came from.
Yeah.
And then you can go ahead and use your Google Analytics platform to go ahead and figure out, well, how long did they stay on your website?
Yeah, so you know,
And
what
did
that
they
person-
immediately leave? What else did they click? What else did they look at? And so
Where did
you
they
can
come
get,
from? Like, did they click on your email link? Did they
I mean,
click
that's
on
such a
your
great
Facebook
business
ad? Did
model,
they
though.
It's insane. The technology is the analytics technology is
As an advertiser, that's a
super
dream.
deep.
If
Yeah.
you're in advertising, that's a dream.
Texas, for example, they noticed that all this piece had happened, so they bought 2 different advertisements, and this came out in the Google papers, I think it was a week ago, where all the tech giants came. They bought ads in Texas. One group of them were talking about all of the problems that were caused in recent history by Muslims. And the other group was saying, like if you think that the U.S. has declared a jihad on us. So they had this whole concept where they were trying to make Muslims go into their own bubble and go against this group of extremists.
Who did?
Russia.
Oh,
This
Russia.
is one of the.
One of
So
the-
they now have listed all the ads, and the
Oh.
particular news
Yeah.
story that I was
Really
reading
trying to
was showing
divide
both
us.
sides of it. And they started this entire fight of trying to get people to attack one another.
Oh, and they set up like they were like demonstrations. And people were going to these demonstrations, thought they were part of this organization. And the organization was something that Russia started on Facebook.
Nothing was real about it. And
Yeah.
what's so crazy about it is that these platforms like Facebook, Google, Twitter, and stuff, their analytics, application and platforms can be just used as intelligence tools for foreign countries. It's that deep.
Oh, yeah.
You can just and it's boxed for you. It's boxed for you. Anybody can sit down and figure it out. Be like, oh, okay, let me click here. You have a nice
Sort
pie
here.
chart showing you all the different people and everything they
Absolutely.
looked at, how long they stayed, what they clicked at.
Oh,
You
God.
go ahead and crunch
That's a
that
lot of
data.
intelligence,
You can go
yeah.
ahead and get a complete profile of a certain demographic.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to the Russians and whatnot, they were specifically targeting like African American community groups and whatnot on Facebook pages and whatnot. It was a concerted effort to go ahead and post not only fake news articles, but just links. Somebody in Russia would create an empty page where it would just be like a headline saying, white guy attacks this black person. Then, a bunch of people in these, mostly black community Facebook page groups would click on that. And then it would go to nothing. It would just be empty.
Wow.
Well, the whole point of that wasn't to get you to read an article. It was just to test to see if their strategy, if the wording was correct to go ahead and get enough African Americans to react. And if it didn't work, they'll go back to the drawing board and be like, well, let's try this language. Until they got a language that made certain demographics outraged and react.
Yep,
that is pretty.
That's like that.
That's a scary thing. To think that you can tool people that way.
Enforces jihad law, and you click on it. Remember we Snoped it or whatever?
Oh yeah, right.
That's I think exactly what he's talking about.
I got you. Well, one of the most extreme examples we've had recently is the New York bombing. Here we have a guy has no attachment to ISIS whatsoever. Read propaganda on social media. Goes out, reads the articles that he found through Facebook on how to kill people in the most efficient way by driving a vehicle through a crowded area, and repeats what he found on social media.
Practiced it, went through
read
the whole
it,
process. Practiced it, and did it.
Yeah, anybody can do it. There's a whole bunch of dudes out in some place in the Middle East who got a computer hooked up. And they're testing. They're out there all day looking at these demographics analytics coming through, and they're like, how can we get more people to pay attention to our message?
Yeah.
Is our message resonating? Let's just keep knocking at the door, keep trying it until we find the right word, the right impression.
Yeah.
And then we can go ahead and capture some folks and get people sucked into what we believe the world is about, and maybe get people to go ahead and act accordingly.
Yeah.
And so, how do you combat that as a nation? It's like almost the only way is have a walled off internet, right?
And
where
and they tapped into real issues they know we have, like that we haven't dealt with.
Mm-hmm.
So, one way we could deal. We just need to make sure we're strong as a nation and we're healing as a nation and unifying and loving each other.
But we're not. I feel like
we're so split.
Well, that's what I was thinking, but also Russia did have a big part in pushing us apart in the election.
So that should bring
that
us.
Is kind of, it is more amplified than what we normally would have been, perhaps.
But it's not just Russia. We're doing this to ourselves, too. And
to answer the question,
they took advantage of a
rift
already there. And they were like...
Right.
I think where it's going to get worse before it's going to get better.
The verdict is still out on how our awareness is going to really combat this, because obviously there's a concerted effort by social media platforms like Facebook and Twitter to make you aware, hey, there's fake stuff out there, man. Check your sources. There's people trying to dupe you for insidious reasons.
Yeah.
But it's also maybe where we're a little bit too late on it, because I know a lot of people who they're lost. They just won't believe anything now.
Right.
You tell them that's fake. It's not real. They're like,
people,
no.
There's real fake news, and then there's what some people call fake news, and they're like two different things. One's invalidating everything real, and one is actually fake news that is made up and fake and propagated.
Yeah. I'm part of several, Black community Facebook group pages, and sometimes I go in there just go ahead and read what's floating around, and you can tell in some of these groups there got to be some Russian trolls in there, because some of the stuff that's posted is outrageous.
So agitating.
It's just specifically designed to make you feel a certain way.
But how do you know if it's true or not? That's crazy.
The problem is they often use real stories and sensationalize them.
Or some people are so radicalized in some of these groups that they're beyond saving. They're beyond rationalizing with. You can't be hey, this is fake. Look at this. All this data is fake. What they will say to you is it doesn't matter. You know why it doesn't matter? Because this still ideologically, represents how I feel about white people or how I feel about the United States of America.
But
it just reinforces it. It like moves beyond like the information, and these
Given
articles just
there.
become more just reinforcement of a certain ideological way of thinking.
And you're trying to tell me this
Gotcha.
because you think this. And they project ideas onto the other side what they're thinking. Like, oh, so you want me to think like this.
Like for instance, there's one classic one that always gets sent around out in these groups, and it's this idea that there was this elderly or like middle-aged black woman who wrote the original story to The Matrix, the movie, the trilogy,
Oh.
and but it was taken from her by insidious corporations owned by like Jewish people, and stolen, and then it was turned into this huge thing. And she didn't get any money for it.
Me neither.
She tried to go ahead and sue them, but the New World Order blocked all of her attempts, and she's still out there, waiting to go ahead and get her justice from these Zionist white people who who are just taking things from black people. So this is a story that's been out there for, I would say, at least 10 years.
Really?
Like, this has been cycling around.
Yeah.
Like this
In your
We have
bowl.
to look it up.
not even just on
Yeah,
mine.
because I've never
Well,
heard.
yeah, not on your social media. No, but on mine,
Yeah.
Is there
this will
any
pop up.
truth to it?
No,
Have you
it's all
read-
fake. It's all fake. It's all fake.
It's just fake.
It's literally just fake.
To get
There's
people worked
a
up.
lady.
Made up.
This is what there is a lady out there who tried to go ahead and sue the studio. She made this claim, like back when the first movie came out, that like they took my idea, but she never showed up to court. She didn't do anything
Never
with
had
it.
a product
At all.
Yeah.
But they took that story and
And
morphed into this
extrapolated.
big thing where now there is a Jewish-led conspiracy that's trying to go ahead
It's
and
that Jehovah's
suppress the
Witness
truth.
thing. It's the same thing.
So the interesting thing about this story is really the comments when you read it, because the comments never really talk about whether it's true or not, and they never really talk about any of the facts inside of the article itself. The only thing people talk
Oh my
about is
God.
this impression of
Ideological takeaway.
white people taking away black people's stuff.
Well, you know
taking
what?
away
Outrage.
You know what, though?
outrage,
If it
taking away
wasn't
their
that
culture,
time,
taking
I'm
away
sure there was another
everything.
time.
And that's what's talked about in these articles.
If it didn't
that's what's
happen
talked
then, it
about in the
happened some
comic
other
book.
time.
That's the impression that's left.
Well, that's hopefully what people will start learning now, like next
Right.
generation in a way.
Ah.
who are
That
Yeah.
might increase
Getting
the
all that
pressure to
information.
But in
learn that.
Facebook
It would be
is
like how in
actually-
high school we started learning very superficially, kind of like, don't use Wikipedia and don't
Yeah.
use .com
Started
sites.
with Wikipedia, right?
That was like our little intro on just don't believe everything you read.
Right,
So, but I think people are
yeah.
now getting more and more like, you really have to fact check and know your sources
Yeah,
and check all this
yeah.
stuff. You can't just.
So is it
everything
too
you
late
read.
for the post-school generations? Are we?
I know. I was like,
Are we waiting for
Not
the
us.
8-year-olds right now to
according,
grow up?
according to my aunts. And
Maybe.
uncles on Facebook,
Well, if there's
yeah.
hope somewhere,
Yeah.
I'd like to
Yeah,
know.
that's what I'm saying. I think we're gonna get more of these circles. I mean, you're getting that. Clearly, the alt-right is getting a message.
Oh, they're
where-
getting another type of message that's very similar.
Well, they'll have to incorporate this into the curriculum at school
Yeah,
because it
they
is
really
such
do.
a
I think
new
they have
relevant.
yeah,
started
I
that.
think
Yeah.
How to really evaluate a source
Yeah.
in a site.
And what class is that in?
English.
Well,
any
I
kind of
even see
research
it like
class.
in you and your brother in your generation. Like you're always like I'm way more gullible than you are.
I feel like I'm almost just as aware if I read something I really like that's from like a site I usually don't read. I'll be like, okay, what is? I'll go check the site. I'll read a story on
Yeah,
another
you're
one.
pretty distrustful of everything.
Yeah.
And your brother,
Why?
no, in a good way, and her brother too. I'm so used to believing everything that's in
But-
front of me.
I keep certain sources that I think are really silly on my news feed just
Yeah.
to try to get in middle. I've actually got both Fox and MSNBC.
Well, we watch Fox
That's what I-
every,
we try to
every,
watch
every
Fox.
5 minutes every night. We put Fox on.
and
Just to
that
see what they're
helps to
saying.
keep you more in the middle. But if you don't go to that extreme, again, you can fact check and you can get things that are just blown out of proportion that are technically true, and that's
Right.
what a lot of
It's
people
how you
are.
read it.
It's how it's read to you.
Yeah.
that
I
can
like
make the
there's
story
this one site, it's Media Bias Fact Check, I think, and it'll tell you the bias of the site, and it'll also tell you like the factualness. That's not the right word.
Right.
But like the truthfulness
What's
of
true
it.
about it.
So
yeah.
it might be really biased, but it's true. So
Right.
you're like,
Some
okay,
kind
I'm
of
reading
true
this.
premise. Yeah,
Right.
they do that.
Like
a
I
lot.
like Vox, and that's super left. So I know it's super left. I know it's true, but I know it's still very like said
fun.
in
It's
those certain
sensationalized.
words that are assumed
Yeah.
that you
That you're stronger.
agree with their position.
Right.
So then I try to read things that are also more towards the middle, and it's like, oh well, I didn't think about that aspect.
Yeah, on my Facebook page, I do the exact same thing you do, David. Man, I have all types of crazy like left and conservative or right wing news organizations and groups I follow, and some of the stuff that pops up in your feed, man, is occasionally just ridiculous.
It is.
And you just go through the comments, you read some of them, and you're like, man, there's just people out there who are.
I get so upset reading those comments, though. I really do.
On
It
YouTube now,
pushes
like the
all my
troll?
buttons, and I just go nuts.
Trolls are.
Yeah.
But they're not all trolls.
Yeah.
But they
I'm
may
a
not
right.
even be real people. I mean,
Right.
I don't know.
Right,
I
it
don't
could be
know.
bots.
Yeah.
I use Facebook as an opportunity to make a lot of people angry because every time I see an extreme on either side, I'll comment and be like, "This isn't really what you're looking at."
Oh, I just give in and hide.
Yeah.
Just go ahead and hide it.
Yeah,
It's
I
just
just
getting-
can't. I just can't.
Now it's getting
can't
narrower
go
and
there.
narrower.
Yeah.
though. My,
It
my.
is. It is
Well, I don't
just like
think our
all
brains are
NPR.
really built to go ahead
It's like
and have,
NPR
like-
and a couple of friends.
I'm sorry.
It's a massive
Yeah.
amount of information.
No, on my
and
Facebook,
it's
I'm down to
overwhelming.
like just a couple of friends and NPR.
That's not
Me
biased.
too. Me too.
NPR is really good at being in the middle.
I
I was
listened to
very impressed by them
NPR
after the election.
on
Yeah.
Wow, you guys.
But I don't know. I mean, I'm starting to have problems with NPR now.
Really?
But yeah, but I know.
First of all, the chief was a
Yes.
Yeah, even
and they came
sexual
out
harassment.
But at least they
Yeah,
covered
they
it
fired
more than
him.
anyone else.
and they keep
Right.
talking about
Well, this
it.
is my thing about NPR is that NPR spends like a lot of time these days trying to market themselves as being in the middle. I don't believe there's any middle to be in. I don't believe that's even a real thing, to be honest.
Well, at least
And
they're
but
not.
so
I think-
when you listen to NPR's reporting,
Yeah,
a lot of
unbiased.
times they kind of feint this like this impartiality or this like
Right.
this surprise and obvious like partisan stuff that's going on. And it just seems a little corny. It seems a little fake to me. It's like like I'm trying to think of a good example. Like maybe this weekend's past shooting, like in Texas, you'll hear something on NPR like congressional Republicans have yet to speak out on gun regulation laws, and it's like of course we know that.
But that's
And
They
then
did.
they'll have-
But it's
and then-
true.
And then they'll have a whole pundit debate like about something like that. Like, well, so why don't you think Republicans are saying anything about that? And it's like maybe it's because I'm just overly informed on these issues and stuff like that. Maybe there's a class of people out there who don't know why and they need to have that discussion and debate. But it seems like treading over.
I think they
I don't
really
know.
don't
I
have
do lots
much
of
to
stuff.
report on in that instance because
Yeah.
they're waiting on the details. So then
I
They
think they're
did-
good
they-
about getting people from both sides and not trampling all over the people. Anybody. I
They
think.
do.
They did a
Mm-hmm.
poll of their viewers about whether they were biased or not.
I remember that.
I always felt that they were liberal. And
They're
then I
the
had
tiniest
customers
little-
one time.
If the
One
viewers
time
are
I had these
biased,
customers where I work, and they were NPR folks, and we were going back and forth, and I said something about being liberal, and they were like, "What are you
Liberal?
talking
That's
about?
not liberal."
Anyway, so they did this study on liberal, and they asked people to call in and talk. And one guy, and I think this was a really valid point. He said it's not necessarily what they say; it's how they say it. So
Because they have
Obama,
the same
he goes,
words
listen
and
to this
intonation.
report that I listened to, where Obama did this thing, and the reporter was excited, and he was, his how he was
Presented.
expressing it
Right.
was biased. The news itself wasn't biased, but he was obviously overjoyed
Right.
about what Obama had done.
Right.
Where he
As
would,
opposed to
where
bummed out.
Bush,
Yeah, he'd
he
be
would
like,
have
"Ugh,
been like, yeah.
look what
so
he did."
goes, it's the tone
I
that
don't
could
know,
make
I
them
feel
one way
like-
or the other.
That's a good point.
And I know I'm not saying they're perfect, but there's been some times on NPR where they were interviewing somebody, and I was like, you can't let them say that. Like, get back at that. Ask them about this. And I was like waiting for them to kind of like go attack them because I was like, no, they're wrong. And they were very like level. And I was like,
they're good about that. And there are sources. And one reason I love NPR, A, because they put out more interesting podcasts.
Oh, yeah.
Than
They
anybody
do.
who exists.
They do.
B, they are the overall vote. I mean, through independent sources, they're the slightest bit left. They are.
Yeah, I've always felt they were left.
Nobody's
They're
truly.
really,
I thought they were
They are
more left.
really close to the
middle.
line.
that's what
In
that
depth.
site I
They're more
mentioned,
in
they're
depth.
like very barely left.
Right,
They're
they're
like one of
barely
the
left.
most centered ones.
Which
I
is
hate
good.
that.
I
though.
like
can't
that.
stand that.
Why?
You're
want them to more so
probably
take a
slightly
position?
one side or the other. Like I'm slightly
Yeah,
right.
but I mean,
Are you?
I say that journalism.
I wouldn't have got that.
Yeah, I'm from a big Republican family. I'm very much for state rights, and I don't think the
would've
federal
guessed
government can do anything intelligently. You'll hear all my talks whenever I'm saying globalization. Most of the economists say it doesn't really work.
No, I feel like I picked up on a little bit.
Yeah, but
But not very
I
slightly.
would
I
have
mean-
thought you were more
I
left.
thought you were just being contrary.
No?
Yeah, that's
He's dead serious, man. He's dead serious. I don't know. I feel like our journalists should be out there, seeking truth, not
Yes,
seeking
that's
to
the whole
appear
point.
neutral.
Right.
And I think
Well,
that's the
that's the
goal
goal,
now
then.
for a lot of these
They're
organizations.
human.
They're like,
That's what they used to do, right?
These people are. I feel like
a
NPR
good point.
and in certain media organizations out
They're afraid
there
to tread
their
one
goal
way,
is
yeah.
to just appear neutral. So you get things like what you're talking about, Savannah, where there's somebody
They
saying
don't
obvious,
get into it.
They're
crazy,
not gonna
like
rock the boat.
ideological stuff that's not true, and they're just like, that is very interesting.
Well, I think there's
and it's like
it's
if it's not
different
true,
than-
Go
call
after
it
the
out.
juggler.
It's
Yeah.
different than that could be two different things. If your goal is to appear non-biased, or if your goal is to get information from all sides, right? Because one would be more encompassing and equal,
Right.
whereas one is just, I don't want to tread on any
Right.
toes.
It's kind of like the
Yeah.
people who tried what's the gentleman's name who went and hung out with the people from the KKK?
I think a few
collected
people have done
rogues?
crazy stuff like that.
He went and he wasn't this like in your face, know you're wrong, calling people out on stuff. He was just getting the information, and eventually it would reflect back. Oprah Winfrey was great with that, where she would go into very
She went to
racist
Versailles.
groups,
What's
give
the
the
name
most
of it?
what?
beautiful,
I'll
non-biased
send you
talk
that.
to them, and yet because the ultimate goal of news isn't to offend people and throw them off. That's what you do if you're biased. It's to get the information. You want to know what that group believes and get it out there.
and if you judge them, they're not gonna.
Right. So the less judgmental you are, the better you're a news source.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, you can't.
That's what
If,
they're.
but that's the issue is that if you're going out there and you're calling somebody on an obvious distortion or an obvious lie, I think that journalism's main priority is finding facts,
Right.
right? So if you say something like, "Hey, what you're saying is not factual,"
If it's an obvious not.
I mean, we
If it's not
can't
true.
give up that ground just to go ahead and
Play news.
get a play neutral.
I disagree with
I
that
don't-
statement. The reason for that is you're assuming that if you put out this stuff that sounds so crazy to you and whatnot, and you get them to defend their positions without them feeling attacked, the audience will be like, hey, this guy sounds kind of ridiculous.
No.
Exactly the Oprah Winfrey scenario. Where
Oprah
she went
Winfrey can
into
do it because Oprah Winfrey's job is her job isn't to like fact find. Her job is to explore.
Get people to talk.
Yeah, go ahead and get people to talk. But when we talk about journalism, I think that when it comes to reporting, reporters should be out there asking about the facts and the truth of the matter. Not trying to not offend, I think, or maybe draw people away.
Well,
I
they're
think
just trying to get as much information as they can. And they do, for the record, they do also do the fact-checking news things.
I
But a lot
think
of
it depends on the host too, because there's
Right.
one guy who does call them out. He'll
Yeah,
put
there's
on
one
the-
guy on NPR who,
I like that
he'll
one
always
guy. I
be
don't
like,
know. He'll be like, but I don't know. It
Yeah.
says da 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 da.
but I have facts here that says something completely different.
Mhm.
It's like, it's like, okay,
Yeah, he
let's
does.
talk about
He
that,
puts
you
up
know?
yeah.
But, a lot of them will go, I'm just not going to say anything, I'm not trying to offend anybody, I don't want to draw away my viewers, gotta be all inclusive. Like when it's like, I don't think that's, I don't think that the goal should be inclusivity.
Maybe they're
in
afraid of
journalism. It should be
confrontation.
going ahead and presenting the facts.
I know I'm not.
If you're a
good with
journalist and you're
confrontation.
afraid of confrontation, that might be
You're
a
not- but they want to get
Maybe
both
they're
sides'
good at
opinions out.
investigating. Yeah.
Right.
Like a lot of
Yeah.
times, what sounds like a
Expose.
lie to you isn't necessarily a lie.
It's more
such
their
as it's a
opinion.
very
Well,
extreme opinion.
And there's different, if there's things that are subjective and things that are objective, and if something is obviously not true, you can kind of call it out on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like if you say, sorry, I'm turning everything back to Trump, but if someone says, Trump got the popular vote, you could be like, no, he didn't.
Right.
Or if you
Right.
said Trump is doing a great job as president, they could go, tell me more. Like
Right. I
harder
agree. Yeah,
to-
it depends if there's like actual numbers that they're
Yeah.
like, no, that's not what happened. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. All right, well, let's see here. What else? I put on here.
Saudi first.
Well, we kind of touched on that. I'm just fascinated with how rich some folks are over there. Like they have like
The
just
oil.
so much money, and it's like they're
I know, you hear like a
floating
prince,
islands
it's
and
like,
stuff.
but,
Yeah.
And you
And
ever see those
pound
videos of them like, you go on YouTube, there's these rich Saudi families and whatnot that there's these rich Saudi
Not
families
looking
that
for-
they own tigers, right? And they have like they have like they don't have they have a zoo at their house.
How
And sometimes they don't even have like it's not even a zoo. They literally just have like tigers walking around and they just like sit there and pet them like it's a cat and just hang out.
I know.
I'm pretty sure a lot of them probably got mauled at one point or another.
I wonder if
Well, they don't
Or they dope them up, inject them and stuff, keep them docile.
I mean, granted, it's in their like younger tigers, but we certainly saw a place where they will put a tiger in your lab.
Baby
Of
tiger.
a
That's a
baby,
different.
it's a young adult.
Was that the sanctuary
like
that got
this.
like raided and
Yeah, that's a
ended?
sanctuary.
Where?
Well, there was a
North
tiger
Carolina?
sanctuary.
Yeah, but it's
North Carolina.
Florida.
Yeah, Charleston
Really?
or South Carolina.
Oh, I know.
Charleston,
There was one.
South
I think it
Carolina.
might have been Thailand that was shut down because it was like
Oh,
horrible.
the
Oh, I
bomb
heard
with the
about
Tiger
that
Temple.
one,
Yeah.
They had all the frozen bodies of
Yeah.
tigers and stuff.
Oh,
Let's talk about
Sick.
reality TV. That disappeared, right? Remember when
Well, because it
reality
became
TV
too
was, like,
real.
super deep? Huh?
It became too real.
It became too real. It became too real. Oh my god.
Now everything is
It
real.
stopped being real. It's like people started realizing that more and more stories came out that they were told to say and sensationalize certain
Right.
things.
That's
They
Oh,
would
I
say
mean
other
that
words.
maybe I have it backwards. Real life has become like what
That's what I'm
reality TV
thinking.
used to fill.
And he was
That-
Right. Now
that
it's
need-
real
Now it's
life.
actually real.
Yeah, we don't
Like,
need
we're
it anymore.
watching this mess.
Right.
Even
But unfortunately,
reality
it's real.
TV It's all it's mostly fake.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Even like the HGTV.
Yeah,
where
the
they
house
gotta pick
hunters.
from the three houses. That's
Yeah,
all
that's
set
all
up.
set up.
I still
All
love
set up,
watching
yeah.
it, but it was all set up ahead of time.
Never been interested in any of that.
I loved like
Really?
HGTV.
I used to enjoy Survivor and
Oh God, I never
What's the one
liked
you
that.
watched in high school?
Not me.
Lost.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
a
that's
TV
not a
show.
reality.
No,
That's not
I
a
had a friend. I had a
reality?
friend.
That's drama.
No, I had a friend who
You
watched
see, I
Big
never-
Brother, which comes
Oh, yeah.
on like
I
3
remember that.
times a week or
That still
something
comes on?
crazy.
Is
Oh,
it
yeah, it's
still
on.
on?
And you could like subscribe to, or I don't know if you still can, but you used to be able to subscribe to like their 24/7 live feed. If you were that invested in these people, you just like go on at any time of day and see what they're up to. Like,
I mean, what is it about humans that gravitate towards that? Like, why would you want to?
I think it's the same reason why we look at an car accident, rubbernecking and stuff.
I think because you know how I'm always saying like everyone thinks what they do is normal. So even just like going to another family's holiday, you're like, wow, these people they do that. This is so different.
That's how they do
And
it.
so you get to just almost like look into other people's
Voyeurism.
regular life.
Yeah.
Even though it's not their
Right?
regular life.
Yeah.
You just watch these random people sit around their kitchen and talk. It's like, ooh, I'm snooping. Like,
And I think more than news and more than anything else, I mean, you've got to look at the overall decline of television. Like now, if you want that kind of reality feeling of people going over the top, YouTube takes care
Yeah,
of it.
YouTube, man. Yes, thank you.
And to this day, I still watch YouTube, and I get fascinated by
Really?
random stuff. Oh, absolutely! I love YouTube videos.
YouTube, yeah.
Yeah, YouTube really has took over the reality.
Well, what do you do? Like
That's
just a popular? What they have
Yeah, what do you do?
featured? Or
So I've got very specific.
oh, you have
things that I
sites
look
that you
at.
follow?
I've got I follow certain news things. I follow certain like life things over the top. I like epic rap battles of history. And
Really?
And it's fantastic. They have
Epic rap.
I'm
battles?
sure
So they
you've seen
have
one of
like
those.
They're all pretty good.
You've seen that?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very popular thing. They have all the election people. They had like Trump versus.
Well, you have to
Clinton.
remind me to do
They
this.
had.
But those are
J.J.
really off the.
Abrams versus.
Are those really off the cuff?
J.R.R.
Really?
Tolkien.
I don't think so.
Are they really off the cuff? Or
No, they definitely wrote down.
All right,
the
yeah.
Those are.
But they're still
but
well
there
done.
are reality TV things that, like, one of our favorite kind of comedian things is Jenna Marbles that kind of presented this.
One of your favorites.
One of my favorites. That kind of
Do we
gave
know
this
her?
slice of life
You know?
Yeah.
character, and she was one of the most popular, entertainers. And she would just go into her own life and just kind of sensationalize it and have fun and poke fun of what's happening in her life.
Well, look at Periscope, right? The app Periscope. I mean, that's reality TV right there.
Right.
Periscope is an app where you can download, and it opens up like a map of the
Basically a
globe.
live
You can
stream.
kind of zoom
No
in, and it's
way.
live streaming. Just random people
Of
just live
somebody's
streaming what they're doing.
family,
Yeah.
somebody's home.
Yeah,
Like
just
our
somebody
house.
else.
No way.
Yeah.
And
I can bring it up right now for you.
Okay.
We're
I gotta see.
obsessed
Like,
with
here,
this
I'm in my living room, I'm
karaoke
doing some
app, and we
typing.
like it because we were
And,
saying.
and you can argue Facebook is kind of reality TV. It's a hyper sensationalized
Yeah,
version
that's a good
of
point.
everybody's
God.
life.
That's
where
true, yeah.
Here's
So we
my
don't need
life
to
if
watch
I was
separate
a
shows
perfect
anymore.
person with a perfect
Yeah.
family.
Yeah. Definitely.
So you don't.
Couple
It
with
sounds like you look
Instagram.
at a lot of this YouTube stuff together and individually.
I don't.
on-
We-
I
Do you
don't.
feel like you spend an inordinate amount of time on your phone?
Yes, we do.
Inordinate.
Absolutely.
We play
Oh.
Scrabble like all day. Like when I'm at work and he's at work.
About every half hour, we take a Scrabble move.
We're playing a game together. Like I use my phone for quite
All
a
right,
bit.
but what about when you're like? So now you're sitting around at dinner.
Right.
When we're
no
together,
phones.
phones are banned at our
I'm a
house.
very
Okay.
traditional person.
I haven't posted anything in ages.
I don't really touch Facebook. I don't really post anything on Facebook.
I
Yeah,
used to
I
post
don't
like a lot
anymore.
when I was in high school,
Yeah,
and now I'm
I'm
like, I hope I
always
didn't
on
post
Facebook
anything
posting.
embarrassing.
Yeah, but isn't Facebook? So
I look at
Nathan
it a lot.
is younger
I don't,
than her.
I don't
He
post
says
stuff.
they don't do Facebook
That's
anymore.
what
That's
we
old people
thought,
stuff.
But then now it's coming back.
Yeah,
Oh, it is?
now
A
it's
different
now it
group
is
of
actually
people.
more popular. Like all these
That's what
like
we
young
thought.
people
Oh, really?
apps.
They
are
do
appearing.
Instagram.
So here's Periscope, right?
Right.
Yeah, I
You
guess
can go ahead and
they've
just like
made it
zoom
more
in
relevant.
on like a random place.
Yeah.
And if you do
Right
Instagram, it's owned by Facebook. For the
Then you
rest.
go ahead and you
Okay.
can click that red button there, and these are just random people live streaming whatever they're doing.
But it's
What?
entertaining to watch.
That's just
Okay,
random
so
people.
they're having cocktails.
Yep. They're having something. Oops.
Well,
And then
that's
people
pretty-
can go ahead and
But
comment
it
and
just
like it and
shows
stuff,
how
and it just shows random
isolated,
people do.
like,
What do I care
That's
what
nuts,
they're doing?
right? Yeah, right.
It's
So that's
reality TV.
nobody. It's not an actor. It's not a famous
It's nobody.
person.
What's the difference?
Right.
It's like somebody watching me right now. Hey.
Well, it is. So what
It's my
difference does it
keys.
make watching
And-
you or Clint
But
Eastwood?
I
What's the
think it
difference?
boils down to these people want to be in their comfort zones. People want to go home, get in their bed, sit on their couch, but they want to feel connected to other human beings. So instead of going out and socializing with real human beings
That they know.
or
don't
it's
even know.
easier just to get on their phone.
That's
And
horrible.
See, that's really sad.
Why is
the
that different?
downfall.
What is
That
that?
is
Yeah.
huge downfall.
What's the
Yeah.
difference between going home, not wanting to talk to anybody, and watching TV?
The
People,
same
have,
thing.
people
At
have
least
done
it's a
that for a
little more
long time.
connected
Is
than
it
just
any?
watching television.
Oh, it's
No,
not any
For
more
me, it's
connected.
the same thing.
It's
Yeah.
not any less.
Is it more
Probably.
connected?
If I don't know them, it's the same thing.
And
Right.
probably, and I don't know Periscope, because this is a pretty good guess, the most popular ones are people that put on this kind of reality TV.
Oh, you know there's
persona
Periscope
character.
stars, like there's YouTube
Oh,
stars.
there's
Really?
oh, that's right.
There's gotta
Oh,
be
yeah, you got
Insta
reality
Instagram
stars.
You know,
That
Instagram
are
people who have
nobody.
their
People that
they
are
have their life
nobody.
set up on
I didn't
Instagram,
think
and
of
then they
that.
get paid to like wear this
Yeah,
dress.
whoever
with
does the
pictures.
best stuff on
I think
Periscope
that
and gets the most
this stuff
hits.
feeds into alienation and stuff.
It
know,
does.
People
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
isolation. It makes the problems that much
It also
worse.
makes your life look Facebook, and this is an old one. You know, it makes your life look like
It's
it
like-
sucks
it's like a
compared
false-
to
a
the
false-
best of everybody's.
But
It's like the best of.
A highlight.
Right?
You're seeing
Right.
everybody's
These
highlights.
people don't feel
Highlights.
isolated. That's the interesting thing.
But they
feel-
do.
Are we sure?
They say
Yeah, they
Instagram
feel,
was
the
voted
younger
like
people.
not
They
voted.
feel connected as long as they're like, for example, if
Do
they're
they
in,
do they feel connected?
Yeah.
Or
Do they think they are?
Do they think they are?
they
you know?
feel and
I mean,
think that
So you
they're
said
connected.
you
Wait a
post all
second.
drugs.
I was not done. So if they're sitting in a room, and they won't talk to each other. But if they're sitting on their phone, but they're all sitting in the room, they feel connected by like a vibe. They don't feel lonely.
Is that connected or something else different?
That's their
That's something-
definition of
see,
connection.
now we're there's a
checking out, I
redefinition.
think.
Well, but how is? And I'm just
They're
playing devil's advocate.
redefining what
If,
connection
I
is.
don't think
we
that's the same
old
thing.
time we were playing Monopoly, right? But now we're playing Scrabble. You
Yeah.
know, next to each other. There's no real difference between
But
them.
it's a game.
No.
But some people are just scrolling through the pictures
But that
because they
is
got
different.
nervous and they're
But
checking
it-
Playing
out.
Scrabble on your phone versus playing Monopoly
Okay,
at a
but-
table
Yeah.
is a
How is
lot.
that different? I could still say
You,
stupid.
you
that
don't.
was a stupid
You don't.
move.
You make
Oh no, you're not
comments.
playing
Yeah.
Scrabble with each
We
other.
do
You might
that.
be just playing
We
Scrabble
do
with someone
that.
else or
Connect
talking to your
us
friend
more.
or
I'm
looking
like,
at someone
screw
else's
you and your
video.
whiz word with 45 points. We talk about it,
Well,
all
no,
that,
no.
and it's not the same. But
It's not the same.
people, I'm telling you, people feel connected.
But then you also see that Instagram, out of all the social media ones, they researched it. Instagram is the worst for
Yeah.
depression, making you feel sad about yourself.
Right.
Is
Yeah.
that real news or is that them trying
No,
to give
that's
you
a real
news
study.
that is-
Yeah.
No, that's
They-
real studies.
they've
That's been
done
going
They
on
studied
for a
how
while.
people
That's real
feel
studies.
after
What are you
looking at
saying?
different.
People feel
They studied
worse
how
about
people feel after
themselves,
looking at different
more
social media
alienated.
sites, and people felt most bad about themselves after Instagram.
Yeah.
I've
Instagram,
felt
I guess,
bad
is
about myself
more
in a
than all
lot
the
of
other ones
ways. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
And the
like when I did
Facebook
the
is not
yoga
good for
training,
you.
and then I saw all these the people that took the training with me, you know, teaching here, teaching there, and I'm like, I'm teaching
Well,
there.
and I met a lot of
it really affected me.
I met a lot of
Yeah.
friends traveling, and so a lot of them still like travel a lot. So I go on my Facebook and I see people
Yeah.
in Singapore and
Right.
Brazil,
And you feel
and
bad.
I'm like,
Here
oh
you
my
are.
gosh, I'm still here. I haven't been anywhere in
Yeah.
a while, and I'm like, but if you look at my Facebook, it would look like I just went to Israel, and that was like 2 years ago. So like, you know, but it
You know what's
looks
funny
like
about Facebook is Facebook had this almost like a disclaimer or public statement that we had a while ago saying that we designed this program for you to only be on it for like maybe 1 hour a day.
What?
Knowing good and damn well that they're trying to keep people on that platform.
Well,
everything they do
It's
is to get
all
you to
about
stay
it.
on
Yeah, they're
there.
like, it's healthy usage is maybe like an hour a day. Check on your friends. And you're supposed to
I
put it
think
away. I was like,
would be a
that's
normal
joke.
dose, but people don't.
They're trying to keep you sucked into that thing as long as possible. The longer you spend on it, the more money they make.
Yeah.
You know, that's it's so ridiculous. But they're redefining connection here.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but it's not the same thing.
It's
Just because
not.
you redefine it doesn't mean it becomes
Yeah.
the original thing.
That
right?
that
I
battle.
think it can be
place.
connecting, but it can also be separating.
it's super
depending on how you
alienating
use
though.
it.
Yeah.
It's because
It can
But
fill
if
a
I feel
fault.
connected,
But I think that's
It's
the
not the
problem.
same feeling.
It can be connected, but it can also make people feel connected, but then they end up feeling more lonely. But they're like, but I have all these Facebook friends that
Yeah.
we're texting all the time.
But they
Why do
haven't
I
left that
feel like
couch.
alone? You know?
Well, what is that battle bar place that closed? What is
Battle
it?
and Brew.
Battle and Brew.
Battle and
Yeah,
Brew.
that
Okay, so my
That,
son.
no, it's back.
Yeah.
No,
but
they got rebought or
Already?
whatever.
It
Oh,
did
they got bought
already?
again? They already never come back. Okay.
So my son Nathan, his best friend is Nathan.
Yeah.
So friend Nathan goes there all the time. He loves it. And
That's
I
cool
said,
place.
so Nathan, how come you don't go with Nathan?
Uh-huh.
He said, because Nathan knows I'm not into that.
right.
And so he went the other day because they were closing, and he said, everybody stands around, you know.
Yeah, that's not
He
his
goes,
thing.
and what am I going to do? Stand there over his shoulder watching? He just really didn't see the point.
Well,
Right.
and he
But
also
they
used to
like
like playing
it.
Halo with his friends all the time. If you like it, like that's the kind of thing you do together.
Yeah.
But if you don't like it, then you're kind of
So
outside. of
that's their definition of connection.
I don't know, man.
I'm telling you, they really believe it. And if as long as they're not getting lonely, like
Yeah.
I understand there's some people who probably are struggling with depression, but there's some people that's all they want. They just want to go to their couch. They want to go.
Yeah, because
I think it
that's
distorts
really
your
safe.
reality of
It's
what
very safe and
connections
doesn't
are.
require much effort.
That's what I'm saying.
It's sad.
It distorts your reality. It distorts it distorts what a connection is. I mean, you
But what do
begin
you-
to start looking at people not as they are, but as they present themselves through a certain media platform. You begin to look at life as it's presented through media platforms, and then that can make you feel alienated. That's not a real connection. When you're in a room with somebody and you're talking with people and you're having a conversation, it's it's completely different
I
than like
feel-
sounding off on
I
Facebook in the
feel like
comment
you're
section,
arguing that same
or
thing you said earlier about how older people always say younger people have a sense of entitlement. I feel like this is an argument
feel
where
like it's the
the
table's
older
flipped.
person is saying there's no connectivity there, whereas the younger person might say, "Yeah, that's how I connect."
We're
with people."
connected together. Like,
Yeah.
what is the definition
Now
of
that's
connected?
not my definition of
And
connection.
I won't say that it's not connecting. You know, like when I lived abroad, I texted you guys like a lot, and I felt like I got It's just like you're much more in touch with people.
Oh yeah.
I still
But
feel.
it shouldn't replace
I still
other.
feel
Right.
strong connections come from like this, with sitting at the table.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's just having this help us get
Build.
as a tool to build
Well,
tools.
some people don't want the real. They don't desire that. Though.
Yeah, they're messed
And
up.
I guess that's okay. You know what though? But I guess it's okay if people are happy all by themselves. They don't need people. I guess that's good too.
That's what I'm
It's
saying.
not
That's
healthy.
what they want.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I say it's
I
different.
mean, they're can they call a friend when they're in real trouble? Like have
Ooh.
somebody to cry to?
Good one.
No.
Not really.
Good one.
But
You're missing stuff.
I knew
yeah,
exactly.
there's probably things they're missing out. But if they don't know, if they never had that, like we're talking about like a whole nother generation.
She said
I'm
no.
talking about they really rely on that.
I believe that there's some biological, needs that we have, and part of that is like real
What if I said
connection.
there's a biological need to have a wife and children?
No, there's a biological need to reproduce. There's a difference,
I
right?
don't see. I don't agree with that.
I-
I'm not having
There is.
kids.
So the social.
There is, but you still have hormones in your body, which
I never
make
had
you feel a certain way, which you feel a certain way.
I never had hormones that made me say
So-
have a baby.
and
No, but it's more passive.
And I'd need to check the numbers on that, but so coming from a person who was, completely isolated and suicidal in college days, I mean, I feel like at least people who don't have the good friend group,
Good social-
like I did,
yeah.
the good social skills, they at least have somebody that they can, even if you don't call it a real connection.
Right. I
it's
agree.
at least feeling like
He
you're
got
part
into
of a
the
web and all
gaming
that stuff.
Yeah, and it got him more involved and stuff.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. Sure, it's. I don't think it's. I think it's a good addition to communication and building a social network. I don't think it's a replacement. I don't think that it's the same exact thing.
But I mean,
I
I
feel
agree
like
with you for personal
Mhm.
reasons, but I think 50 years from now, I've read novels, I forget the name of the book, where there's characters on the screen in your book. I mean, not in the book, in your home, on the screen. Like reality stars.
Fahrenheit.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Okay. I've never seen you guys laugh so hard. What is so
What's going
funny?
on over there?
Yeah, what is going on?
It's not even that.
Well,
just so-
she said, you said another.
Oh, a whole nother.
And he always.
And then I,
He always.
And there is really no such
and
word.
I made
I
a
know.
comment, and then she went, for the record, she said another.
I never even thought
I
about
can't believe
that.
she did.
I think in 100 years,
What's
it's
another?
possible that we just interact with figures on the screens. It's possible.
It's,
maybe
it's
you
our
could-
biology
maybe
designed
maybe
for
I'll bring
that.
it back
will be
together.
our best
I don't
friend.
think so.
Maybe we'll
Like,
bring
hello,
it back
Alexa,
together
be
with
my
virtual
friend.
reality.
That's
Oh
what
yeah,
I'm
we'll have
saying.
holograms. We won't even need some.
That's what I'm saying. It's possible.
So if is virtual reality, then if we agree that that's the next step
I mean-
that people might go
And if
to,
it picks
They
up
can
that.
program Alexa to a higher level where it can actually respond to your emotional. It can actually. have
Oh,
a
they have
conversation.
little
have
robots
those.
I see
Did you see
advertised
that?
for.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
It's
read
like
your
therapist
feelings and
robots.
stuff.
And
Right.
all they do is
Yeah.
And they're working
And that's
on
now.
they
that.
actually have
Think about
measured
10 years from
results,
now.
like positive results. And a lot of what therapists do
older people?
is they repeat stuff back for you.
Yeah.
So what these bots do is they say, "How do you feel about that? Sounds like you're sad," or
That's
So,
what a
like, they just-
psychologist does. And
yeah,
they
they,
get
they,
paid,
they just keep reflecting it to you. But these
Yeah.
people
You're like,
are
"Yeah,
feeling
I'm
good
sad."
about it, and they feel like
well, and they get more specific. Like apparently, Alexa is almost being viewed as enough of a person where they've had to start to make it empathetic on certain questions. It's like, Alexa, should I commit suicide?
Oh my
They
gosh,
actually have.
really?
I was listening on NPR about them having to program Alexa to be able to
Wow.
offer up answers to that.
Wow.
And offer
well, it's
phone
sad, but you
numbers.
could see someone at their lowest point just saying that, and they
Right.
need to hear something good.
And if it's
Yeah.
Alexa,
And another
That's-
thing, apparently smaller kids believe Alexa is a real human being.
See?
Oh,
That's
So
my
they
gosh.
encourage parents, when they're speaking to Alexa, to say please and thank you.
Oh my
that
God.
way
That's
Alexa
ridiculous.
learns that they learn that it's like how to talk to human beings.
somebody.
Because they're not quite old enough to explain to them like it's not real. I mean,
Well, they're just hearing their parents barking commands and thinking, oh, that's how you
Right,
ask somebody
yeah.
for something.
yeah.
That's how you
So they
communicate.
That's how- yeah.
actually have put
Mom,
out
turn on the light.
instructions that you might say please and
Right.
thank you because you shouldn't teach your kids
Give
to
me-
order. Yeah.
That is
Oh my
insane.
God.
They're too young to understand
Yeah.
it's not
And it
real.
actually has Alexa say you're welcome after that stuff, so it actually
Wow.
teaches.
But
Wow.
I've been getting a lot of
I'm
ads for
telling
like
you.
little robots that like move around your house, and they get your feelings, they get your mood, they get to know you, they ask you questions.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, all this stuff will never
go when
will
she
never
gets
be able to. I can't say never.
Yeah.
But it will be. It's damn near impossible. It's really hard to mimic actual human interaction. The facial expressions, the passive messaging versus the active messaging. Computers can go ahead and simulate that to some degree, but there's so much nuance that goes into actual communication between two organisms that we're still going to always learn more from dealing with people face to face than we're going to be able to, I think, learn from computers that simulate it in some way. I don't think that the simulation will perfectly be able to encapsulate a human until like AI or something
So,
like that.
does it need to though? Like, let's take
Sure.
MMORPGs are games where you have an avatar, and there are specific commands that you can do to make it like, you know, make you appear happy or dancing or sad or any of that stuff. Kind of in the old days, in emoticon, if you were, emoji, that sort of thing. In addition, you have talking, you've got a full chat engine that's going real time, and you've got actions that you can do with this person. Like maybe instead of going out on a date, they actually have had in World of Warcraft people get together and actually have their marriage on World of Warcraft, where they invited hundreds of their World of Warcraft friends, and they actually created rings and stuff for this whole ceremony. And so
It's
it's
still
that-
involved.
So
It's
they
still-
really
those people
married
still
them?
met each other though. They
Yeah.
still met each other. They still had like a human interaction. It wasn't completely like they never met each other, and all this was done through the platform of World of Warcraft. The human element was still there.
But
Still there.
they could have gone months without meeting each other, and then finally met through.
But they
the
still have to meet
platform.
each other.
Right.
They
But
still
in
feel like they have to
reality,
meet
but
that
the other
person.
side of it is
There's
what's
something missing.
easier?
But it's a connection, right?
What's easier to meet a real person or to interact with him?
It's easy. The easier is just to interact with the machine.
Exactly.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because you have none
we try to
of
get-
the risk
Right.
immediately in front of you, right?
we're
Right.
trying to find one of my friends, her boyfriend. You know who she is. She's always got 10 excuses. She'll find the perfect guy, and there's always something wrong with him, and she's not right about this, and he's not right about that. And I'm like, he's a great guy. What's the problem?
Mhm.
And it's just she needs a robot.
Maybe she doesn't really want anybody.
She does. We think she does.
Wait, that's what
Yeah.
I said for the record.
She was hurt.
Yeah.
She was hurt. So
But she's
not ready
got
yet.
a perfection.
Oh no.
Hole.
maybe put those experiences pushed her to
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
Just
be
like
very-
just like this recorder here takes our analog voice and digitizes it, and that digital representation will never have all of the data that we're putting out into it. It's just a blocked representation of it.
Right.
The same thing I think works with communication and interaction between people. Is that we're kind of blocking and making kind of flat representations of what human communication is through emojis, maybe through texting or game platform and whatnot. But that will never be able to encapsulate the analog. And I think that our bodies are designed to be able to read that analog and take it in so much better.
Oh, there's so much
You know?
more going on.
Right.
There's so much more
There
going on.
is.
When you're talking with somebody face to face,
Oh yeah, eyebrows. I mean,
yeah, there's so much more going on
Yeah.
than like a LOL, or a happy face,
Yeah.
or a frowny face, And we see it all the time in text messaging, right? Like, I've heard people they sit there and they're trying to mull over like an implied meaning inside of a
Were
text
they
message.
upset?
Like, what
Are they
did it
getting
really
smarter,
mean? Why
or
did
are
they
they
put a period
sincere?
at the end of that? Was that some kind of like declarative, or and they're trying to read into an artificial?
It happens with
maybe
my
nothing.
sister. I think she's being a smart ass, so I think she's being upset. But then when I look at it another
When they say
angle,
LOL, are they
it could
laughing
be-
at me or with me?
yeah,
It's like
very innocent. You just can't tell.
There's an awesome Key and Peele skit where.
That's right. I did see. I saw
and where
that.
they're having
One guy's pissed out, one guy's screeching.
One guy thinks he's just giving these totally normal calls, like, yeah, I'll meet you there. Okay, what time? But the other guy's reading it all wrong.
So
and so the
wrong.
other guy it shows up with like an axe. And the other guy's like, dude. But you have to watch it. It's done really well.
It's really good.
And like over time, I think that's unhealthy. I think that you get a group, you get a population that is less nimble and maybe
Well,
dealing
they say
with
younger
people.
people have less social skills now. Like, it's harder for them to pick up a phone and
talk to people and stuff.
they don't want to pick.
I have younger family members who are like that. They can't talk to people.
Well, because
like,
it makes it easy. Texting has made it easier.
I
So
hate
they
talking
wait,
on the phone.
look
I'm
at us.
talking about actual.
You can text me all day.
You
but
guys,
don't ever
look.
call. Don't ever call me. You can
Don't
text.
I don't call her. She won't pick up
She
the
won't pick
phone.
up the phone.
Yeah.
So
She
text
doesn't
all
even have her
day.
ringer on.
Good for you.
Really?
I don't like picking up phones.
I like talking. You can call me.
And don't leave her a voicemail either. That's like horrors.
No, I know you call.
Text her. No
Yeah.
voicemail.
It's
My
a
God,
total
that's the
different
Stone Age.
Either that, or
generation
just say
thing.
everything
Yeah.
you need to say in the voicemail, and I could say, okay. But don't leave me a voicemail saying, hey, I tried to call you, but you weren't available.
I know,
Call me
it
back.
takes
I'm like,
so
I know
long.
that one.
I've always been interested in like long form type of like writing opinion pieces and things like that. So I use my Facebook as more of like that type of platform.
Oh Lord.
Where I'm like I'm that dude that's
Is
writing
that
like 4 or 5
Andrew, like
paragraphs.
Oh, those are the ones you
Who
just.
does that?
And nobody reads them.
Yeah, I was just gonna
know
say
nobody
those are the
reads
ones
them.
you just scroll past because it's too much.
Yeah,
Not even your mom.
Yeah, nobody's reading that stuff. you
Yeah.
know. I mean, I get it, but I do it for me. It's more of like a journal platform for
Yes.
myself. It's not really, I don't care whether people read it or not, But occasionally you get somebody like, hey man, you're always on Facebook typing these long posts and you put it out. So, get off my page.
You need to
That's
get it.
funny. Do you go back and read them, or it's just you're venting?
It's
you're
mostly me venting,
talking and-
but I'm also interested in like writing and the structure of it. So I'll go back and read it and try to go ahead and brush it up and make it as coherent as I possibly can and stuff. So but yeah, I'm always long posting and stuff on on Facebook. I'm not a big I don't do Twitter and stuff like that. I'm not really. I need more than 100.
Yeah, they wouldn't allow you to Twitter.
Too long-winded. But that's from I used to be on that live journal type of stuff where I do the same thing back then. Just obviously I was a teenager and less informed. I had nothing really to say. But now I'm up there typing about policy and stuff like that. And taking what's in your brain and making a coherent
There was no
idea about it.
platform for that before.
There was no platform for that. Yeah, exactly. It was that wasn't there.
And you kind of get feedback on it too. It's like, here's my thoughts.
Which
and
is
then
nice,
People
yeah.
respond.
Well, there was a platform. People used to have journals, right?
Right, but nobody else saw it.
Yeah.
But that was a good thing.
But that was,
See, I would probably use that more so than putting my
But people
true
still
thoughts
wrote
on things.
journals with the expectation that one day maybe somebody would find it.
Right.
And somebody would look at it, and
But you'd never get any feedback on it.
Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes feedback can be harmful because you just get all these likes and you think, cool, everyone likes it, but there's no dislike button still on Facebook.
Imagine if there's a dislike button.
There really needs
There
to
isn't
be.
an anger
There really
button.
should be.
Yeah, now they have.
Yeah, you can-
Yeah, there's an angry
I never
face.
used
You
it.
can make
You know
angry
why
face.
there's no dislike button? Because it will destroy that platform.
Yep.
Really?
Right.
Facebook's all
As
positive.
soon as you can get negative feedback on Facebook, nobody uses it because nobody wants to hear negative
People
feedback.
want-
Right?
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
want people.
People
They
use
do have
Facebook for
angry.
positive.
Oh, that's-
Angry is different.
But you're
Angry
angry
can be like, yes, like
Yeah,
now.
angry is
You're not
different.
them.
Absurd.
Right.
People internalize like, you
disagreeing.
just like that, huh? I mean,
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
different.
that's the,
I'm not going to post because so and so may dislike it.
yeah, it'll destroy people's relationships too. Imagine that, you post something like, here's my kid, and somebody dislikes it.
I would love it if, for one day, like an April Fool's Day, if Facebook put a dislike button out
Yeah.
for like a day. That would just be like chaos.
Well, I get upset if somebody doesn't like my thing.
Right.
I mean,
just
not
doesn't-
even
doesn't-
a dislike.
just
Why didn't you
doesn't
like
like
what
it.
I put on yesterday?
Only one person likes what I put.
They do that. They'll be like, you didn't like my thing. And I'm like, oh.
Really?
Either I didn't see it or I didn't
like it.
Didn't like it. Or I'm like,
I don't even see everybody's posts.
I know.
Right.
I know. I'm just silly girl.
I'm getting better about getting off of social media, though. I like to try to limit myself now.
We need to go.
Me too.
But all right, thank you guys
Well,
for
it was
coming
so
out.
much fun,
thanks for
everybody.
I will see
Don't
y'all
miss
next
it.
time. Goodbye.
What's the possibility you spent a few minutes under one of Exeter's labs before you got here? Somewhere.
That's what it looks like. Get your brain cells rearranged.
And bada boom, we are out. That was a pretty short one this go around, right? An hour and a half. We usually block about 3 hours or so. Give you a lot of content to go ahead and listen to whenever you got the time. But this one we kept it short and snappy. And man, it was a beast editing this one too. There's a lot of noise in the background. Sound like at a moment we were kind of like in a nightclub. There was this kind of going in the background. But I got most of that out. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation as much as we enjoy sitting around the table and having the conversation. If you happen to be in the Atlanta area, go ahead and check us out. You can find us at the Current Issues Discussion Group meetup group on meetup.com, of course. And we are located north of the perimeter near Atlanta. And maybe you can go ahead and sit down and have a conversation with us. Well, I think that's it. I got another one I gotta go ahead and start editing right now and get out to you guys. And we have more to come in this new year, 2018. All right, guys. Bye-bye.